7 p.m. Let us stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk Lucero, could you please call the roll?
Yes. Bartholomew?
Here.
Edwards?
Here.
Fowler?
Yes.
Kerr?
Here.
Parker?
Present.
Rasa?
Here.
Poznansky?
Here. Okay, moving into our approval of the agenda. Does anyone want to make a motion to approve the agenda?
I know we just got it here at the table. Other concern is, where was this posted prior to the meeting?
The literal agenda on the website.
And that's it? Or we're supposed to have it posted in 2 or 3 places within the village prior to the meeting?
Are you referencing something?
Yeah, the posting of the agenda. I just had concerns because we didn't get ours, and I flew out of town right after I got my packet, and I wasn't able to see if it was posted anywhere. So I just got this today, and I had residents asking where it was, because normally it's Village Hall, it's here, it's other places, so it's supposed to be posted before the meeting.
I don't do email or Facebook, so it's the first time I'm looking at this thing.
It's not on email or Facebook.
Well,
It
I'm
would
just
be.
saying, I do hard copies. You sent us out the hard copy of the packet, but I totally agree with Mr.
Right, all of your topics are in your packet. The agenda was missed in the packet. The agenda was not posted on the front window. Does not violate any legalities. Is it best practices? No, and it was a mistake.
I'd make a motion to postpone this meeting due to a lack of the information in the packet.
Information?
Yeah,
You had a
this-
whole packet,
this should
almost
be
300
in our
pages.
packet, instead of sitting here. At least if it came out, he or she, one of you guys could have got it to us, send the police to our house.
It was
and
on the
everything else.
website also.
I mean, it's a mistake. Everything that we're talking about tonight was in our packet. Just literally the cover page summarizing it was not. It took 2 seconds to go to the Romeo website and find the
I
agenda
don't
right
know
away.
websites.
Sorry, stinks.
I would second the motion just because, yes, I did receive the packet. I did not receive the agenda, so it was a little hard to determine in what context some of those items were in there for. Although I have gone through them, I wasn't exactly sure.
The
what
agenda just
context.
lists them. You do have cover pages to every single piece of agenda items. So it's adequately separated. Often when I can, it's even stapled separately, so you know which item is in what order with what.
So the items that don't have supporting documentation, they just have a cover page, I would say wouldn't necessarily indicate whether there was just missing information, information forgotten, or there really was no information to be placed.
And I can understand that. I see that. I don't know. There's nobody in this board that doesn't have either the office number or my own phone number, an email. It wasn't until this afternoon I don't know, Matt, what time did you stop in?
3:15.
This afternoon at 3:15 that it was brought to any sort of light. It was on the website Friday afternoon.
Mark, do we have any legal obligations to have this posted as per the Open Meetings Act to have it posted?
You probably do not if you complied in another way, and that is, if you look at section 15.265 of the Open Meetings Act, subsection 2, it says, for regular meetings of a public body, which this is, it's your regular October meeting, there shall be posted within 10 days after the first meeting of the public body in each calendar or fiscal year. And I don't know whether you do this on a calendar year basis or a fiscal year basis, but on whatever basis you do it, you have to post your meetings for the whole year, stating the dates, times, and places of its regular meetings. So if that was done, you've complied with the Open Meetings Act.
for posting, so there's no obligation, just to clarify, to post the agenda ahead of time.
There is not. Notice is required. Notice of the date, time, location of the public meeting. As I mentioned, the statute provides it should be within 10 days of, if you use the calendar year, it would be 10 days from January 1st, January 10th. Fiscal year, it would be July 10th. And if you've done that, if all of those have been posted at the village office and they're on the village's website, you've complied with the Open Meetings Act.
Is there any more discussion? We have a motion on the floor by Fowler. We have support by Rousseau to, what was the motion again?
Postpone
Is there a date, time
to next Monday.
to postpone the meeting till
28th. Yeah, 7/28.
October 28th, 7 PM, I would assume?
Yes.
Is there any more discussion? Okay, Clerk Lucero, could you please call the roll?
Yes. Bartholomew,
No.
Edwards,
No.
Fowler,
Yes.
Care,
No.
Parker,
Yes.
Rosso,
Yes.
President Poznanski.
No.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Support?
We have a motion by Care, support by Bartholomew to approve agenda as is. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Opposed?
Opposed.
We have two opposed by trustee Fowler and trustee Rousseau. Okay. We have our meeting minutes. There are 3 sets of minutes. If there are going to be any adjustments, then I would suggest we do them separately. If there isn't,
I would
you
like
could
to,
do them all
at a
together.
minimum, I know the dates were messed up on what we had in the packet, but we did not have the 16th at all. If we could table the 16th, so we have time to review that one.
So there's a motion to table the September 16th meeting minutes for approval.
Support?
Support by Edwards. Did I say Parker? This motion.
Bartholomew,
Yes.
Edwards,
Yes.
Fowler,
Yes.
Care,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Rosso.
Yes.
President Poznanski.
Yes. Okay, then we'll move on to
Motion
September
carries.
26th. We have any corrections for the minutes on September 26th? Hearing none, we'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the special minutes meeting of September 26th.
Support.
We have a motion by Edwards, support by Parker, accept minutes for September 26th as is. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There are none opposed. Moving into the meeting minutes for October 10th, special board meeting.
This, I would like to see some corrections. Public comment talks about, comment I made, trustee Parker, it says a resident. It was not just a Tilson resident, it was several residents. Handful, I think is the word I used. Unfinished business talks, trustee Parker uses the word fluff. That was not the word I used. I believe trustee Care used that word. And then I also have concern that if we're going to quote people, then we should be quoting everyone, not just certain people, because everyone had discussion during that meeting. that was here, so.
Your corrections will be noted. Your opinion is noted, however, it is the clerk's purview of taking the minutes, unfortunately. Any other corrections? Is there a motion to approve the minutes with the corrections?
Make a motion to approve the minutes with the corrections as stated for October 10th, 2024.
Support?
We have a motion by Edwards, support by Bartholomew, to approve minutes with corrections. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? There are none opposed. Moving into our bills, we have our two sets of bills, one being in the amount of $1,099,445.08, the other being $28,109.92. Welcome. We have a motion and discussion.
I'll make a motion to pay the bills as presented.
Support?
We have a motion by Edwards, support by Bartholomew, approving bills as presented. Is there discussion?
Yeah, I know we had the mitttv.com agreement put into the packet, and when I was going through, I've noticed on here we're paying mitttv. Or mitttv Inc. Our contract is with mitttv.com, and I think in previous we've seen mitttv.tv. Is that the same, I'm assuming same entity? And why are we paying different than what's on the contract we have with them?
I can ask payroll.
Because I didn't see any doing business as or anything else on the contract. So I don't know why we'd be sending the checks differently. If we could figure that out, it'd be great.
I'd have to, they can pull up the checks and literally show us exactly what is printed on the check.
All right, thank you.
I noticed there were individual names that I have not seen on here before, Jason Zurich or Julia Millar.
What document are you
Sorry, the check register.
Check register.
Katie.
Okay.
We don't usually have that many individual names, so I'm curious to know where we.
What page also? Or are they scattered? Whereabouts?
The first page,
Mm-hmm.
about 3/4 of the way down, for $1,925, was an individual named Katie.
That is the cleaning, I believe.
Isn't the cleaning usually like 150-ish, and it's?
That's for the whole month for all the departments, the meeting room,
Okay, one,
as in departments. DPW has theirs separate. Cemetery no longer is included. So you have this meeting room, the village hall, police department.
okay. Then what about Pamela Sue Kramer?
That is the one that cleans DPW.
Oh. And then if you flip the page, the fifth one down, there's like a $587 payment. A few more down from there is $1,085. And then about halfway down, $192.
I don't know, we would have to verify if they're reimbursements, overpayments, tax, or water, I don't know. Clerk Lucero?
What was it? I'm sorry, I was looking over notes from the last meeting as well.
I don't know, a couple of the different names.
Let me see. I'm not familiar with Pamela. Let's see. Who was the other two, three?
Julia Millar,
I'm not familiar.
In general, they're just reimbursements for overpayments of some sort. It could even be a permit, water bill.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I can look into that.
Okay. And so that we grab them all, can you highlight them all or send in an email, all the specific ones? Because again, there's copies of all the checks. Is there any more discussion, questions?
I had one last question with Plant Moran. Do you see the charges?
Which page are you on?
Front page, truck registry, 2/3 of the way down, 23,000 on this one. I just was wondering, because that's a little bit, quite a bit higher than the normal charge. I didn't know if they had a special project or something going on with that.
Right now, we're currently going through audit, so there is extra time being put in. There's also extra time being put in requesting that they assist with verbiage for the Headley rollback so that we get proper verbiage.
Great, thank you.
There's no other questions. We had, I think it was a motion by Edwards and support by Bartholomew. Could you please call a roll?
Bartholomew,
Yes.
Edwards,
Yes.
Fowler,
No.
Care,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes,
Rosso,
Yes.
Poznanski.
Yes. If you look at the end of the bills, it is followed up with the treasurer's information regarding our fund balance for our accounts, coming to a grand total to date of $312,108 for investment. There's further breakdown. There's a couple pages in there. You guys can each see. Okay, moving into our special presentations. We're going to start with our SEMCOG planning grant. That is HRC. This is Karen. For the council, you all have it in your packet. The big blue page is the front of it. Karen, take it away.
Thank you, and thanks everyone for having me tonight. Again, my name is Karen Stickle. I'm here from HRC, and I'm here to provide some information on a planning grant that the village received from SEMCOG. This was applied for back in late spring, early summer, and we received notice in late July that the village was successful in getting a $40,000 planning grant. I don't know why this screen up there isn't changing. Sorry, technical difficulties. Let's try again. There we go. With me here is Maria Corona from my office always also, and she's helping out with the grant, and she is helping out with technical difficulties that I have as well. So thanks for coming, Maria. Again, we applied for this grant back in the late spring, early summer. We originally applied for $50,000. We ended up getting a $40,000 grant from SEMCOG. It was a very competitive grant program, so no one who applied got the full amount they applied for, and it was very few communities that actually were given grant money, because I think they only had $200,000 or $300,000 to give out. So the village was lucky to get some money. And this planning assistance grant is to be utilized for planning activities in the village and needs to be completed by the end of June 2025. The goals of this grant are to develop a more detailed and updated asset inventory of all the different assets that the village owns, and then prepare a capital improvement plan to plan for future expenses. This grant doesn't commit you to doing any of this work. It doesn't commit you to anything, but it really gives the village a more comprehensive look at all of your different assets, all your different asset classes, so you can start to think about maintaining them and improving them in the future. And it's also, we're going to prioritize some projects to address the asset needs. So the purpose of this public meeting tonight is to provide a little bit of background on the grant, provide a forum for input on prioritization of projects. This is a grant requirement that we get this public input, but we also like to, make sure everyone in the village knows what we're doing and what we're looking at, so we can get input from them, from you, and from anyone from the public on prioritization of these. We're in the very beginning stages of this grant. Again, we were notified in late July that the village received the funding, and we did not really get started until early September after going through all the grant paperwork and everything that we needed to do for that. So we're in the early planning stages. We will be doing another one of these presentations in the spring sometime, probably in May of 2025, to go through the findings of the grant. But I just want to give an update of where we're at right now. The assets to be included are roads, your sanitary sewer system, your storm sewer system, your drinking water system, your water tower, wastewater treatment plant, your iron removal plant, the parking lots in the downtown area, and the village hall and community center buildings. The good thing is the village has done a lot of work over the years on looking at some of your assets. I'll start with roads. Every 3 years, you're required to do PASER ratings for your roads. I should know what PASER stands for, but it's really just a generalized rating system that the whole state of Michigan uses to identify road conditions. 1 is the worst condition, 10 is the best condition. As everyone here, I'm sure, is aware, you've been very proactive over the past few years with doing road improvement projects, so you have really improved the condition of the roads that you have that you've worked on so far. And we're currently in the cost planning and estimating phase for the southwest quadrant to get those roads done. Once we get through that, we'll have been through the whole village, and the roads in the village are going to be in pretty good condition, so we'll be in good shape there. Sanitary sewer. I don't know if anyone remembers this, but back in 2015 to 2018, the village received a SAW grant. SAW stands for Stormwater Asset Management and Wastewater. And this was to look at the condition of your stormwater and wastewater systems. So as part of that grant, we televised all of the sewers within the village. We did manhole inspections on all the structures. And we came up with a plan for improving those horizontal assets, is what we're calling them. As part of the road projects that you've done, quite a bit of work has been done in order to improve those sewers. We've done 800 feet of open cut sewer repairs, over 4,000 feet of trenchless lining of those sewers, some spot liners, and some grouting. So we have used that information as part of the road program to improve your sanitary sewers as well. There are still some sanitary sewers, not just in the southwest quadrant, although most of them are in the southwest quadrant, that we didn't necessarily have the budget to do as part of the road projects. We really focused on those that were in the worst condition, because the last thing we wanted was to put in new roads and then have a sanitary sewer failure that would cause the roads to fail. That doesn't inspire trust in anyone, so we focused on the worst of those. But in looking at the remaining rehab costs from that SAW grant, there's a little under $1 million left of work to do on the system. And again, a lot of that is in the southwest quadrant where we haven't gotten to the roads yet. The storm system, similar grant program back in 2015 to 2018. We have done some structure rehabs on the storm system as part of the road projects that you've been doing, so we have been focusing on those. There are some remaining rehab costs. Again, we televised all the sewers, again, primarily in that southwest quadrant, and that's about $150,000. I don't have costs for all these different ones. I'm just providing the costs for the projects that we have worked on in the past. But as part of this grant program, we'll be getting better costs for all of the different assets. Your drinking water system, we did not have grant money to do anything with your drinking water system, but we did do a water asset management plan back in 2020 and identify some needs. Back in the 90s, you replaced a lot of your water system, so your pipes that are in the ground are in pretty good shape. If we did notice any problems, we would fix those as part of the road program. So really, the biggest, the costs that we have are your booster station and then costs at your well house. And we are still working on finalizing those costs. We had people out inspecting the well house a couple weeks ago, so we're getting those numbers put together. You also have a water tower. Dixon Engineering, who does most of the water tower work in the state of Michigan, was out there, and they put together a report, an estimated repair cost of $322,000 at that water tower. So that's another thing that we'll be including in this. Your wastewater treatment plant, we did look at the wastewater treatment plant as part of the SAW grant as well, because that was, wastewater was one of the categories we were able to do. We identified 0 to 5 year projects, 6 to 10 year projects, and then 11 to 20 year projects. And we're looking at about $4 to $5 million over the next 20 years to be invested at that plant. So there's quite a bit of need over the next 20 years there. It's a pretty tough condition. The wastewater plants don't last forever because they're in pretty harsh conditions. And then the last thing, or then the iron removal plant, like I said, we just had people out there looking at that. We're still working on the cost to identify what some of the needs are at that iron removal plant. So we're going to be updating that. This just kind of listed some of the things we saw: emergency lighting, some panel maintenance, some electrical work, some work on the structure, and then working on some of the well houses. There's one of the wells that doesn't have a proper enclosure, so over time we'll have to plan to build that as well. Next thing we are looking at is the parking lots, and these are again just the parking lots in the downtown area, so the public parking lots. Some of them are in pretty poor condition. You do have one new one, but the rest of them need some work, so we'll be looking at what it'll take to bring those up to speed. And then the last item we're looking at is some of the village facilities, the village hall, and then the community center. We did do an architectural, structural review of both of those buildings last week. We're still compiling that, but there are some things that we noted that needed to be addressed at both those facilities. So this is kind of the summary we've come up with so far: projects to prioritize, the village hall and community center upgrades, the iron removal plant, the parking lots, and then some of the other assets. And then we're looking to see if there's any input on projects we didn't mention, any other village assets that anyone thinks need to be included in this analysis that we're doing. And that's the end of my formal presentation, so I can answer any questions.
I have a question back to the water tower.
Okay.
It listed $322,000 in repair costs.
Mm-hmm.
Is that including the annual inspection, the cleaning, the painting?
That's not included in that repair cost. Dixon didn't provide those annual costs, so we're going to be looking to see if we can get better numbers for that as we finish up the report.
So the
The painting costs were included, but not the maintenance, annual maintenance or inspection.
So the $322,000 includes the gasket and the roof vent listed below?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And then the painting.
Okay.
And it does look better than the current picture,
Yeah.
if you know. That was
Yeah.
soft washed. I didn't know that was a thing this summer, as to not disturb too much of the paint to exacerbate the problem.
Yeah.
A question on your storm sewer systems.
Okay.
At the end of Dickinson Street, there are none, but the village has been relying on the basic runoff down to the county drain system in order to get rid of the water, and that's been failing for years.
Okay.
Could you include some type of upgrade as far as, if you're not going to do the storm sewers there, the runoff into the county storm drain? Because right now it gets overgrown with weeds and stuff like that to where it blocks up everything.
Yeah, we can take a look at including a little, see if there's any improvements that can be made to address that issue.
The hard part with that is the property, speaking of, is county property, and we can't improve county property.
Okay.
There's been multiple conversations. There
Okay.
have been on-site meetings with the county and our own DPW. They did come out and spray for Phragmites in the last while, but it's an ongoing conversation with the county.
It is, but it has to be taken care of because we flood at the end of the street all the time. So whether it's working with the county or not, something has to be done for the residents that live on that street. Unless you put in storm sewers, and then we got no problem. So you got an alternative.
Noted. Anybody else? I say thank you,
All
Karen.
right, well, thank you very much for your time, and we'll be back in the spring with
If there is
more
a-
findings.
If there are any comments or thoughts or questions after, you can pass them on to me. We can get them answered or added to.
I guess I would just like to say I don't have this report in my packet, and I guess I wouldn't have known because I don't have an agenda to know it was missing.
Noted.
All
Thank
right.
you, Karen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Again, we can always look online. Everything is uploaded online. Your packet was also there. I don't think you understand, or obviously, 300 pages for each of us. This is just a testament to the continued comment of there needs to be added support to the Village Hall. We've had staff off for a week. We've had staff sick also during the week. So we've been down 2 staff members, while also phones, emails, all the things. Grace is asked for. We are doing our best. Nothing is intentional. Moving on to our EV tip, Ms. Carmen.
I don't have a presentation, I'm just talking for my notes. Good evening, President Poznanski, Village of Romeo, trustees, thank you for having me back. I am Carmen Wells-Quigg from the Economic Growth Institute at the University of Michigan, and I'm here to provide an update on the EV tip project. We have been working with the Village of Romeo for almost a year now, working on strategic planning and a project that has been funded by the state of Michigan to provide not only technical assistance, but also project implementation dollars for the Village of Romeo at no cost to the Village of Romeo. And we're here to talk about being in the final phase of the project, which is the implementation phase, of which EGI is a technical assistance provider to kind of help manage and shepherd forward this project to relieve the burden on the DDA and the Village of Romeo. So it's a pleasure to be here with you today. I'm here to provide just a high-level overview to date and then talk about where we are at this stage. So since I last came here in May, we were talking about wrapping up the strategic plan at that point. I presented those findings to you all. And over the summer and now very beginnings of fall, we were able to work with the Village of Romeo and the DDA on the selected project, which was a central business district project for wayfinding and signage. We were able to align that project with another project which is in the DDA strategic plan, which was to bundle it with business attraction strategy. So I'm pleased to say that we developed a request for proposals, sent that out through the Mitt and BidNet, as well as posted on the Village of Romeo website, and we got several proposals in by contractors from Michigan as well as beyond Michigan. And we had a scoring process which EGI uses, and we brought it to the village to go through that scoring process, which is removed. Excuse me one second. My nerves are going to kick in here for a second. The scoring process that we brought forward removes bias and provides a very comprehensive look at the proposals. We were proud to say that within the scoring committee, which was representative of the DDA, EGI, and Village President Poznanski, we all came to consensus based on our own independent scoring of selecting one contractor, and that is Crimson, and I'm here to provide that information to you all. I believe you have information in your packets about that. We do have a timeline in which to spend these funds, and this contractor came in within budget, gained our confidence with their approach for completing the project, as well as their knowledge of Michigan and their background and experience. And at this point, we're pleased to share. I'm happy to answer questions, but we're going to kick off that project as soon as possible. It's estimated to be roughly a 20-week project to be completed by the end of March of 2025, which will include a business attraction strategy and signage design for wayfinding signage. And with that, I'd like to thank you for your time and ask you if anybody has any questions.
So all of the E-tip money will stay within the DDA area?
Yes, this was a project for the Central Business District.
And that was determined by the survey?
That was determined by, so the project, there was an open call for projects. Trustee Rossi, I think, believe you were here at that time. And that project had the greatest strategic alignment. So for right now, it is targeted for the Central Business District.
Also, the project that could be done in the amount of time and within the scope of the money that we received from the state. So there were a couple factors in. So this was seen at the DDA table. It's a very thorough, even just some of the suggestions that are in here that we could implement down the road. And the DDA did support it and ask for us to take action on it. You see it later on our agenda. But right now, do you have any questions for Carmen?
Thank you for your work.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you so much.
Okay, we will move into our public comment. This is the time for the public to comment at our meeting on anything you'd like, current agenda items, not current agenda items. You have 3 minutes at the podium. You don't have to be a resident. I'm going to say I see no movement. Okay, then we will close public comment. Moving into our officer reports. Chief, would you like to start us off tonight?
Evening, everybody. I'll be quick. First, Tilson Street. That is in full motion. Year one for me. That's go over there today. Pretty amazing displays they have over there. Been uneventful so far. No injuries. No events of note have been reported back to me. Just a few residents that are not thrilled with the road closure that is taking place on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But based on the pictures I saw from last year and the massive humanity that ends up in the street, we decided to shut the road down between 6 and 10.
6 to 12.
12, just to keep general traffic from moving in there, not prohibiting residents from getting in and out, but to keep through traffic from getting into that crowd of people. A couple of meetings ago, you guys all approved the cameras and the new platforms. I'm glad to say that all of those are now in, and I'm in regular communication with CNM and Axon, reference their installation and then the follow-up training that'll go along with that. I'm hopeful that they'll be live by early November. And then our radios. This was something that predated me. Some of the guys call it our ghost radios or our phantom radios because we keep being told by the state that they're in the queue. But I learned this week, actually today, that they are actively being programmed. So the new radios should be in within a month. That's all I have.
And then we will have to pay for them.
Yeah.
Because apparently we sent them to be configured or whatever the word would be, but we didn't pay for it yet.
Yeah, we
So-
paid for the programming apparently, but not the
Not the actual radio.
not the hardware themselves. So
So get ready.
If I could, real quick, Chief, just so everyone can hear and know, with the Tilson Street shutdown, it was asked, and I didn't have all the answers because I didn't put the plan into place. If a resident needs assistance getting in and out from the street, can't move the barricade themselves, what will be done? And then also, if we are shutting the street down, massive amount of people on the street certain nights, will there be assistance to help people get in and out of their residence, like
Yes.
driving up and down the street?
So I have spoken to a few residents who had that concern, some elderly residents. During the nights when we have the street closed, we have a detail assigned to Tilson Street. So I've assured them that if they are having trouble getting out or in and are unable to move the barricades themselves, to give our non-emergency line a call, and we will have that officer respond to whatever intersection they're at, whether that be Main Street or Sisson, and help them get in or out, including their house if my assessment driving it today is a lot of them have figured this out over the years, and again, year one for me, but a lot of them have put fencing on their yards to keep the crowds a little bit at bay, so they're just viewing instead of getting up on their porches and whatnot. Hopefully that provides some assistance with that. But, yeah, there were a few elderly residents that don't participate in the event that expressed their concern, and I assured them that if they give us a call, we'll have that officer that's assigned to the detail respond to them and help out.
And that, it was stated on the communication, dispatch phone number, anyone needs help, reach out.
So if you have to get emergency vehicles in, what is the plan to clear the road at that point?
We will have the assigned officer start clearing people out of the road, knowing that a fire truck is coming, or an on-duty officer is coming. But the reality is, it is going to be a slow move. It's a little bit like herding cats. There are so many people coming, there's really not a lot of places for them. So I've had conversations with Steve, and he knows that if a fire truck has to get in there, they just need to take it slow. It's a short distance between Main Street and Sisson, and we will get their rigs to the proper location. But yeah, it definitely is going to slow it down a little
Right.
bit. There's no way to avoid that.
But at least people can move out of the road. If you have parked vehicles and moving vehicles, there's no moving them.
Right.
It is impassable at that point. At least with people, you see, and you can at least squish or head down.
And so we have,
I haven't participated in this in years past. I'll work some afternoons this weekend to get a live assessment. I've been shown pictures from officers that have worked the detail in years past, and by looking at the pictures, I mean, it just literally looks like, I'm sure you've all been there. Year one for me. It just is literally a mass of humanity. I mean, there's just people everywhere, and they're coming. I mean, it's a feather in a cap for a lot of people on that street. There's a few that aren't thrilled with it, but those people are showing up, and there's nothing that we can do about that. Hopefully it provides a lot of business to the downtown district. There's a lot of positive things about it, but my primary responsibility is to make sure those people get home safe as best we can.
Right, and without a willingness to expend more funds for more detail, this is the literally free, cheapest way to assess and keep the safety of the street.
so you have a designated officer above and beyond
Yes.
our regular duty, and obviously costs are incurring with that. My question, it's just to throw it out there for you to ponder as you're learning about Tilson Street. At what point does it become an event that requires a permit or fees or recovering costs to the village? Not that I'm saying it should be shut down, but it is something that is becoming quite an expense, a popular one. And so just kind of keep in mind that public safety and expense should be considered when you're looking. Just
And I can appreciate that, Ms. Rosso. But I would also offer that that's probably above my purview.
As I say, that would be
My
more or less a good
responsibility is
question
to
for
maintain
our,
I'm
for
sorry,
us.
I'm sorry, Chief, can you speak into the mic?
my primary responsibility is to recognize that these people are coming, and there's
Yeah.
no stopping that, and to try and do our best to get them home safe.
Yeah.
Whether it's an event and needs permits and all these things that may be discussed in the future, that's probably for this council to discuss. I can weigh in on it, sure,
Yeah.
but that's probably where it stops for me, is making sure that the people are safe as best we can.
Right. Thank
Yeah,
you.
no, it's a good question to split the hairs between event. And yeah, I would think that would be more of this board, how we want to craft an ordinance, what we would say is an event and what does constitute an event permit.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay. I don't know. Trustee Fowler, do you have a report?
I don't.
Trustee Care?
I am all set, thank you.
Trustee Parker?
Planning Commission, this month we talked about the short-term rental ordinance, looking at drafting that. We looked at the fencing ordinance, which I think we finally came to a conclusion finally. I think it's been a year and a half, maybe, going back and forth on that one. Besides that, I'm good.
Trustee Rousseau?
Tree board meeting met. Their proposed ordinance is in the packet. Received some communications from some residents on input as far as public comment goes on the meetings and what they'd like to see. And that's it.
Trustee Edwards?
I don't have a report per se, but just want to remind everybody that Election Day is 2 weeks from tomorrow. Early voting starts this Saturday at either Township Hall, Washington Township, or Bruce Township, October 26th. So we just encourage people to go out and get their vote in.
Trustee Bartholomew?
Nothing at this time.
Okay. Clerk Lucero?
Yeah.
Microphone?
Good call. Thank you. I have that off because last time I got comments from people that they could hear the clicking from the computer, so I'm trying to make sure I'm not
Copy that.
driving people insane. First off, I'd like to apologize to the board for the oversight with the agenda. We had it last week. I was dealing with a massive upper respiratory infection and strep throat. I came in on Thursday heavily medicated. That said, if there's ever an issue, please feel free to give me a call, shoot me an email, because I don't know what I don't know. And if you guys didn't get it, and like I said, it was an oversight on that part, please feel free to give me a call. With that said, I've concluded an investigation on our ordinances. 22 ordinances over the last 6 years have either been passed or amended, and of those, 15 ordinances either were not online, misnumbered, or missing signatures. 6 ordinances of those are misnumbered, which duplication of ordinance numbers creates havoc within Municode and really creates a coding error when you're trying to look those up when you click on them, if you go to our website to look up the ordinances. So I am working with Municode right now to fix those. The following ordinances have been uploaded, and I'm awaiting Municode to actually code those ordinances. So as of right now, the clerk's duties ordinance, president's duties ordinance, treasurer's duties ordinance, construction board of appeals ordinance, water system maintenance ordinance, and president's pay ordinances. Like I said, there's a number of other ones that they haven't been signed, so we have to sign them. I talked to Mr. Clark, and since all of the proper channels, the ordinances were announced via the proper channels, being print media, they are valid, so they don't have to come back to you guys to be revoted on. So that is good. That was one of my concerns, is am I going to have to bring you guys a huge stack of ordinances to re-vote on.
But is that something that Megan can just sign then?
Yes, yes, so we can sign them.
Good.
And they are, they're good to go as long as
Okay.
the dates they were passed.
We don't have to pull in past presidents and things like that.
No. All of those, all of those are good. We're good to go there.
There's a couple.
Yeah. As far as the update for the overall state of the village, right now, I'm waiting to hear back from 2 companies. I'm still waiting to hear back, because I put it out there to get quotes for digitization of all of our documents. I have been provided 1 quote. It's about $18,000 right now. The other one's just what they have online. The guys in the area, it's considerably more than that. Hopefully, I can have a budget coming here soon. Like I told you guys, as the budgets develop, I will bring them to you. They'll be put on the agenda under new business. I'm looking right now into the total need for computer stations across the village. Like I stated at the special meeting, we are about a year away from being completely obsolete. We are going to need to make this upgrade. So I'm trying to get a total need right now, figure out, I know police, they've already gone forward, they have computers and stuff. So, I mean, if we're going to do it at the village hall, we may as well do it for all of our departments and look at that. And that budget will come to you guys once it's identified. As far as FOIA process and other documents, I'm currently talking to Municode about having a FOIA process online where people can FOIA online, all of that, and they'll be able to submit payment online and get all of that, so it kind of streamlines it for them. We will get notification, and if there's any hiccup in that system, then we can step in. Right now, Municode is telling me it can be wrapped into the services we already have, and they said really it shouldn't, it may cost, it might not. Right now, I'm just exploring it. I'm fine with doing the FOIAs as is, but if it's a way to streamline some things that's not going to cost anything, I figure it might be worth it. Also, considering the cost of having a workstation, as we're talking about possibly redoing the village hall, having a workstation in the village hall where residents can come in if they don't have access to computers or want to look up an ordinance themselves. There's something in the lobby. They can go in, and it could be a pay station there. They have them at a lot of libraries too. You can do the same thing. You pay at the library to have access or at least print off. So I'm looking at that too. Still looking for secure storage options. It's probably going to have to be outside the village. Like I identified last meeting, one of my biggest concerns is the 180 years worth of documents that are kind of unprotected. Looking at that a little bit more and walking the village hall with Chief Nakis, we started talking about fire cabinets, and those things weigh about 1,000 pounds each, and we're going to crush a cop if we put them up there. And it's just going to be cost prohibitive to put anything up there, because it would be a major feat of engineering. We'd have to put beams and it just doesn't make sense. I know we have some space here to potentially put secure rooms in here and move the hard copies that we need to keep, but this kind of goes in line with the digitization. A lot of, I would say probably 40% is probably going to get tossed once we're done. But another big concern of mine is we have every record for every house in this village, and if there's a fire, that all goes away too. So it's still in line with also taking care of the resident, which all of us are. I mean, I'd hate to lose everything from my house and not know where anything was done. Then the workplace safety and office build-out, looking to come up with an RFP to address concerns that were outlined in the special meeting and the meeting before that. Fire safety signage, we need to have that updated throughout the office. And this is per the fire chief. Fire safety lighting, there's a number of them that aren't working. We have to take care of the ceiling gaps and the egresses, and possibly turning the upstairs into usable space, whether it be for our office staff or even having floating offices that trustees can come in and utilize. Just, I'm kind of musing about all possibilities that are there, because we have a lot of space upstairs that is not utilized. It just sits there. It needs to be utilized. We did meet with a workspace designer. Her name is Miss Stephanie Ches. She's from ISCG out of Royal Oak. ISCG is a large workspace design firm. They work with a lot of municipalities, Monroe, New Baltimore, Novi, Northville, Sterling Heights, Oakland County, the county itself, and almost all of their municipalities, all of Washtenaw County, Oakland University, Wayne State, University of Michigan, Macomb Community College, just to name a few. They're looking at potentially giving us a bid to design and build out the area, both areas. They also looked at the police department dispatch room and how they might be able to help over there with making it a better place to work, so they're not as crammed in and everything. We discussed options and identified the goals for both areas. They also introduced us, President Poznanski and myself, to MI Deal, which last meeting I spoke about the GSA and the purchasing programs with the federal government. MI Deal is actually a purchasing program through the state of Michigan that allows cities, townships, villages, counties, school districts, universities, colleges, and nonprofit hospitals to buy goods and services from state contracts and state contract rates. And oftentimes it's better cost savings over the GSA. So we're kind of looking at that, and they are a MyDeal preferred vendor. So if we walk this forward, that's really what I want to look at, is the people who have already had those contracts in place through MyDeal, so we can get the best possible price. We did have a field measurement completed on the village office, and as well as dispatch on the 30th, and that was needed to even just begin everything. And I'm going to be going to ISCG showroom within the next 2 weeks. On-site security, I visited Harrison Township clerk, saw what measures they have in place, and I have planned visits to Washington Township, Chesterfield, Mount Clemens, to learn what they have in place and kind of see their best practices. And I'm sorry, I know it's been long. Hopefully in the next couple months, these will get considerably shorter. I don't know if you guys have noticed, we do have our .gov designation now. So the new village website is villageofromeomi.gov. All of your guys' emails, everything just ports back into it. Everything's good there. You don't have to do anything. The most important part about that is a .gov designation allows us to apply for funding more efficiently. Most grants, government grants, they have a mandatory verification process, which can take anywhere from 8 to 12 weeks. When you have a .gov designation, you bypass that completely because you already went through the federal government's verification process to get that. Just had a couple weeks ago, a consultation with the CIA and CISA, which is Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. They handle all of infrastructure, network administration, stuff like that, and spoke to them about any security gaps. Network security was introduced to some of the governmental best practices, and they did advise us to get a secure server room. So with that, I'm going to start researching grants now that we have the .gov to kind of help with all of the expenses that I've outlined thus far. So, and you know, we just went to a SEMCOG meeting, so we can get grants for anything, whether it be property acquisition, wages in order to hire more people, infrastructural. So I'm looking at federal grants, state grants, SEMCOG, and then even private grants and trusts. So that's everything I'm working on right now. If you guys have any questions or comments, I'm free. Thank you, guys.
Okay, moving into my report for the month, I have, did you have a question?
No,
I don't want to
Oh, sorry.
overstep.
I didn't know if our emails would change or.
Sorry, I was going to sidebar, but yeah, your emails are not changing. You will have the option to change them yourselves if you want, but if someone says, send something to the .gov or the .org, it's all going to the same place, so it'll all go back to you guys. So yeah, you guys don't have to do anything. You'll still continue to get emails. Yeah.
Thank you.
Good
Yep.
question, thank you. So, in addition to the typical office work of phone calls, emails, in-person and different Teams meetings, we held the visioning meeting on October 1st at Rec Link Park. In addition to all the rain, we had 17 people show up. We will be creating a Survey Monkey, essentially online survey for anyone who wasn't able to make it out due to the rain. Also, hoping to have more input from more than just the southwest quadrant of the community, and maybe some green space people. Went on a ride along with the tree board members to review some trees concerns around the village. Joined a tree board member, George Smith, over at Village Park just last week to meet with an arborist from Davy Tree regarding the health of some of the trees over there. Attended the Justice 40 Task Force at SEMCOG down in Detroit. Represented Romeo at the Ford Task Force meeting. Created the communication flyer for Tilson Street residents regarding the safety closures to the through traffic. Attended our DDA meeting on the 7th of this month. Submitted our CDSMI, which is Complete Distribution Systems Materials Inventory to Eagle. That has to do with the lead lines. So far, there are none. The intention is not to find any more, but should we have $360,000 to address. And then just this afternoon, attended an MSU training under their Fundamentals of Best Practices. Today's seminar was focused on fiscally ready communities. And that is my report. Moving into our committee reports. Our Bruce Sewer.
Bruce reached out, day of meeting, canceled. Had conflicts come up, have not reached out for rescheduling.
Okay. Crosswalk. I think you left that on here from a past working agenda. There is no crosswalk project.
Can we add ethics committee to that?
That's what should be in that spot. It's ethics committee. Nothing to note for the ethics committee. If you guys would like to get something going this month, Nolan, Shelley,
Can we wait till next month?
it's up to you guys.
We've only got
November,
8 or, yeah.
let's do it.
Thank you.
So that's the report for the ethics committee. Moving into our business, unfinished business. We have our survey for the cemetery expansion, have here on the cover page. I was told it would be ready for this month. I have basically an outline of how we've gotten to where we are, and was informed that it would be ready for our November meeting. So that is where we are at with that. Is there any questions? No questions? Okay.
No, you said we're just waiting on the survey?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Moving into the EV tips. So when Carmen was up here explaining it to us, they're looking for an approval to move forward. They'd like to see the council have support of the project. So if there's a motion to support moving ahead with Crimson,
Yeah, I'll make a motion to proceed with the
Crimson.
For the
Support?
Okay, we have a motion by Nolan, support by Edwards. Here, I'll give you, it's the Central Business District Action Strategy. And this company is Crimson, Crimson. Is there any discussion?
So these are just proposals, not firm plans yet? All right.
No, that is part of what this proposal is getting getting firm plans. All the pictures and everything you see in here are just PowerPoint,
Okay, that's what I wanna
vision
make sure.
examples.
Yeah.
If you look, I want to say it's in the back 5 pages. It's the actual rundown of the 20 weeks of the project.
Right.
There is input, there is stakeholder input
that.
from the different parts within the village. Do we reach out? Sorry, Carmen. We also have the DDA. Sure. How do we?
Yeah, so there's, that was one of the things that we,
Sorry.
that was one of the things that we were really looking for was community engagement, stakeholder input, a lot of engagement with the Board of Trustees, but also with the DDA. So there's going to be plenty of opportunities for that engagement throughout the 20-week process. But to answer your question, and President Poznanski was correct, those are just the bids or the visions
Okay.
to develop the plan.
And for the Phase 2 brand strategy, is that branding of the DDA or branding of the Village of Romeo?
It is for the Central Business District. It is a DDA, project. So there is, it's on village property as well, so there's going to be input from both sides.
We had conversation, to your point, of DDA, Village of Romeo. We don't want to combine, we still want to keep ourselves separate as the municipal entity and the downtown business. So that keeping ourselves separate, but yet that we complement each other and we are in the same area. But with this strategy, it's all about bringing people to the businesses. So the main focus is the DDA, the business. That's the attraction strategy. I don't really feel that we have an attraction issue with getting people into our homes. They fly off the market before they're even up for sale. So it's more of the downtown.
But I bet, questions like that will be able to be brought forward, in kind of like the public engagement process to make sure that, the strategy can be developed for the good of the Central Business District in the village.
Thank you. Is there any more discussion? Okay. We had a motion by Care. Where was our support again?
Edwards.
Edwards. All in favor? Aye. Do we have any opposed? Thank you, guys. Thank you for the free money and all the work that you guys have been doing. Okay, moving into not so free money. Upon the clerk's 2-week medical leave and then subsequent resignation of office and taking up the role for that time, I discovered multiple bills. Some of them were uniforms that are still in the corner. Another was AT&T past due bills. Have gone back and forth with our representative. There are multiples that we are able to trace back to the time where Clerk Trapp did ask for disconnect. You see that here in your packet. A lot of those bills, whenever they come in, I call Mr. DeSico, hey, we've already gone over this. Yeah, it just didn't get through the system. There's multiple layers. This last one, neither of us were in the conversation. So it was between the representative before him, and then also Ms. Trapp. So it took a while. Then apparently AT&T also had a strike this summer. So this is why this is just getting to us for an answer. I asked Mr. DeSico to put it in writing for us so I can read to you. After review of account, he notes the number. It was found the disconnect request was completed within the requested billing cycle. original request was made on August 21st of '23 and processed on August 31st of '23. Attached is the final invoice from the 10/23 detailing the disconnect completed on August 31st, '23. Below you will find the request for disconnect pulled from this email chain, of which is a whole conversation between Ms. Trapp and the past Stephen Doherty, AT&T rep. So where we end up was with a final bill from AT&T on this account for $61,436.46. You can see within this bill credits in the amount of $15,429.04. Those credits are given back as in the time that the request was made in August and this bill came in October. That's what would have then accumulated during those months. However, because we can trace back the disconnect request to August, we got the $15,000 credited back. So this is the answer that we've been hoping wouldn't come.
What did these lines belong to, like originally, do you know?
I don't know. We're talking about something, you can see Ms. Trapp start conversations back in at least somewhere in 19, I want to say it's 2019, going back and forth trying to figure out where are the lines, what do they all run to. There were different DPW, there was some extra, I want to say iron removal. Some point in time, unbeknownst to me, phones have evolved. We did not use these lines. We started to use something else, changed services. I'm not quite sure. And no one ever said, hey, AT&T, we don't need these lines anymore. So for all this time, we've been paying phone lines that we haven't needed. So until we said, hey, we don't need these anymore, we were still being billed and we were still paying. The unfortunate thing is when this conversation was happening back in 2023, Ms. Trapp did not bring it up. She just decided to no longer pay the bill when it came in October of '23. I did receive, what month are we in? So I think it was August. I received notice from AT&T Legal claiming $10,000 more in costs and legal fees. However, because I was able to draw back to the initial conversation with Mr. DeSico and pull it back to this disconnect, they have stopped procedure there for now. They're waiting for our decision and our communication after tonight. I did ask what their feeling would be on payment plan, paying in full, where they would go with that. Mr. DeSico, that's not his purview, but he said that in general they are amenable to those sorts of things, that if we can ask for that. If we get to the right department and they actually give it to us, that's another story, but we could ask.
Is this another item we can try and get reimbursement for?
I intend to. I have actually an appointment Thursday with our insurance agent at Village Hall.
Thanks.
Well, I don't know if, doing a one-year plan, pay 5,000 plus a month till it's gone, it would maybe hurt us less rather than a $61,000 check.
We can ask. I can go back and ask what they're able to negotiate with us in
You can
terms
tell
of.
we intend to pay it.
Yeah. Okay.
That would be my opinion anyways. I'm only one of the board, but intend to pay it. But, like you say, if we could get a 12-month payment schedule, that might,
I can go back and ask what they would be amenable to.
okay.
Yeah, lump sum payment for half.
Yeah.
Yeah, something up front, payments over time, payment overall. Whatever they would be willing to work with us, I think we are
Yep.
thankful for.
A question. The 7523565, isn't it the police station's phone number right
Whoa,
now?
what are you?
Village Hall.
That's Village
Oh,
Hall.
it's Village Hall.
It's kind of a general number.
Okay.
We all have the 752. But then it's the numbers at the end that all matter. If you look at the page where the email is with all the account numbers, you notice there's a lot of 752, and then the following.
336.
Will you automatically give us an update next month? Or do I
Yeah,
have to-
we
Okay,
can
thanks.
continue, because especially if there is a need of a payment, it will not be anything approvable without the board.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so we will table for now, and I will see what kind of payment schedule we can't work out.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Moving into our Parks and Rec draft lease agreement. Clara is here. I'm sorry, is this Miss, okay, Kim Duda here's here. So I did include for you the original lease and then also denoted the draft lease. And have representatives here. We can have discussion if the board would like to include them in our discussion at the moment.
Yes, do you need a motion, or?
Well, I would like the board to acknowledge that they would like to bring someone into our discussion.
I guess, yeah, I'll make a motion to include the representatives of the Parks and Recreation Department.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion by Edwards. We have a support by Bartholomew to include Parks and Rec in our discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Would you like me, how would you like to proceed?
Well, I'll introduce myself. I'm Kim Duda. I'm the Parks and Rec and Star Transportation Commission Treasurer. So I was sort of brought in and tasked with taking over what somebody had already started. So in doing that, we had discussions with the commission members, and we had kind of decided the best way to go about it would be to go through and sort of redline the original or the existing agreement and sort of determine what it was that the townships were looking for, as well as now with the new entity, how we could go through and sort of make those changes. We weren't looking to change much about the amount that we're paying. We're satisfied with that. We've been upkeeping the facilities for quite some time. The biggest issue from the townships was that they didn't want to be on the hook for, 100 years or 99 years if there was an event where the millages didn't pass and Parks and Rec would be dissolved. So what we sort of decided to do was just sort of utilize that contract and that red line contract to go through and open lines of communication. So we're willing to do whatever it is that your board decides is appropriate. We just wanted to open lines of communication and, determine what next steps would be. So I'm certainly not an attorney. I was the one that went through and redlined along with Clara. And what we were looking for was primarily addressing the concerns of the townships. And again, just sort of getting information from the previous treasurer and determining, what needed to be done moving forward. So we did both listen to the comments that were made during the last board presentation where you talked about this. So we wanted to make sure we were here to answer any question and ease your mind about anything that what our intentions were and where we were sort of going with this.
So just to bring it back to everybody's memory, the proposed outline changes were updating the organization name and address, the term of the lease, which you just spoke to, going from 99 to, I believe it's
We were
5.
looking at 5 years.
Removal of some special meeting language in the facility name, and removal of the first year of lease language throughout the existing agreement. So some basic, I don't want to say cleanup, but the biggest one being the term, which is located in section 2.
And I don't want to speak on Clara's behalf, but as far as the commission is concerned and also discussions with Clara, our intent is not to move out in 5 years or anything like that. This is not, the intention is not to get up and move out. We don't really have any place to go. So we're not looking to do that. It's more so the townships are wanting to ensure that if the millages don't pass, that they're not on the hook for, another 50 years of payments and upkeep to the building.
And even if there was another community center that was built, this is so well used that I think it just would continue. It wouldn't ever stop. But what we need to do to make you feel comfortable, to know that we would, we don't want to move out. We want to stay where we're at. But we know that we have to update this lease, or, that the other one is kind of nil. So we have to do something.
So the board asked for the leases to be brought, communication, representatives here. Do we have questions, discussion?
So Megan, under number 8, use of premises, you said they removed special meeting. I thought the question last time around was, it says that the Board of Trustees are provided with space for their meetings, but what about all the other boards? And then down below in the next paragraph, it says to all civic. Is that what's covering, like, the tree board, the planning commission, the Board of Appeals, to be able to use the room?
If I'm recalling correct, and you know what, Mark, maybe I mean this in the kindest way, I've been around for a while, and within this lease, that you would have a longer wisdom and history there, that we used to convene and use the rooms over in the other buildings. So that this addresses that is what I'm understanding. Would this be on?
The last line of number 8 is definitely,
So should it just be removed since we're not, nor will we be?
The language is somewhat limiting. The Village of Romeo Board of Trustees shall be provided with space in the buildings, so that's more expansive, because it used to be, as Mrs. Poznanski pointed out, the north building. And so, whatever fits your purposes, you either want to protect the ability to have the meetings or of every civic board, or you want to be cognizant that if you don't provide for that, not everybody may be able to use it. It's not really a value judgment, it's what your intentions are for the use of the space and what Parks and Rec is willing to accommodate for the use of the space.
What do we do now? Do we tree board meet over at the community center?
No.
We're all here.
Oh, here?
There are times that there are 2 meetings and there's a back
Oh.
and a front room,
Okay.
but it's all within this building.
I think it's more just a safeguard to make sure everyone knows they have a spot and,
Yeah.
where it will be.
Because we have had meetings in the other, south building, or north building, I guess.
used to, yeah.
In the past. They were more like town hall meetings almost type of thing. They weren't actually board
Yeah, the
meetings.
Board of Trustees meeting used to be.
I guess, yeah, it was, wasn't it? For a
With the
little while.
loud furnace when it kicked
Yeah.
on.
But that was before we had this room.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the thought would be, this all goes back to the term of the lease. If the term is going to be shortened, we can then plan accordingly. If this goes long-term, if the term does not change, we don't know what this building and space could be utilized for in the future. Okay, and this is not for real. This is just a past conversation. The police would come here. Okay, well, now we'd need a meeting room again. And that would be, we would want to maybe pick that back up.
Yeah.
It depends, I guess, where we're going with the term.
Taking Brad's something now, just to say it's done and safeguard it, or let it go.
I don't know. I don't know that we necessarily need to make a decision right now, as much as we're just having conversation
Right.
with them. That is something that,
Are they looking for a special time frame here?
I don't, does the township have any timeline on this?
I would say no.
Okay. I am personally willing to participate in any way. If you guys decide that you want to have committees or a committee regarding this, I would be happy to participate in any meetings, and I'm sure Clara would as well. So whatever you guys decide, I just wanted to make sure that we were here to ease your minds and, you know, make sure that we're working together, because the intent was not to make you think that we wanted to up and leave, because that's certainly not what we're trying to do. We're just trying to accommodate the townships, and with the new name and the new entity, it's important that we do it regardless.
Well, I guess, I mean, if we did go with the 5 years, I mean, we just demand, I shouldn't say demand, put in the contract, that we can just use the facility as we've always used it. If we need to schedule a meeting in the West Room or whatever it is, Gold Room, or, we should be able to do that. I mean, that, we don't do that very often.
no.
If we do it once every 2 years, that's probably a lot.
I think the conversation needs to be more focused, though, on the term. Last time we spoke, it didn't seem that we were interested in changing the term. Not sure what the benefit is. They're looking out for the townships, as they should, and that's what their position is, and our position is looking out for the village. So some of these easy fixes, updating a name and such, but to me, the term is really where the conversation needs to be, if we want to have it here or resurrect our subcommittee.
What's on your mind as far as term goes?
I'm just unsure, so going along with the millage, if it drops, the village takes on, you just heard our whole list of assets. We don't even have accurate, full numbers yet, inventory of what needs to be planned out for. That could be a very large asset to pick up. I mean this in the kindest way again, that you have been taking care of our facilities, but upon taking this facility back over since January, in just our report, there's leaks, and DPW had to get up and replace some shingles. I don't know when they came off. Nobody knows, so they came off at some point. But I almost wonder, should we be assessing the whole building to ensure that upkeep that maintenance is there? I do see them doing things. I see the floor, you smell the floor. We don't mean that, that you are neglecting it by any means. But should we take that asset back over? It's very expensive. I don't want to say drop of a hat, but years are a drop of a hat.
And the current is 99, which has been going on for
30?
quite a few years at a rate of
$1.
$1, yeah. So, I mean, it's kind of been the village gifting the facility. Yeah, we get the maintenance out of it, but like you're pointing out, you know, we've helped out on our end by not charging.
Well, and the commission can't own properties, so the fact that
No, I
this
totally
wouldn't, they
understand.
would not have this if we did not hold it.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's a different term, to me, that's just too short.
Yeah, I kind of agree.
And what is, I mean, if we change the term, is there I forgot.
Yeah, how long
Is
has
there
it
an
been
out?
since the original contract was written?
94.
Been 30 years?
30 years.
Mhm.
So you got another 70 to go.
Was there an out?
And I'd have
in
to
here? I
check
don't
if they're
remember.
paid in full. I mean, $99. I knew that they gave a chunk, like $20 at one time. We were trying to trace it back.
We paid, it could be, we could owe you.
Couple bucks. No. Is there any more questions that you would want? I don't feel that tonight is a night for decisions, but they are here. If there's any questions, we gather all the information we need to consider this going forward.
Mark, you've reviewed both, I'm sure. In the original, was there an out within so many days or written notification on either party's end?
There was not.
There is no out.
There is not.
Because I kind of thought the out was a little bit quick, too.
Um,
I did anyway, but,
I do not recall, was it 30, 60, 90 days?
yeah, and it automatically renews. And you got to give 6 months' notice to renew it, or not renew it, which is fine, but in between, anybody can give notice without reason, and it was pretty quick.
Well, do we have all of our questions answered? And
I guess so for now. I'm kind of in a position, I don't really know what questions necessarily ask.
okay, well, then I think,
Really-
just thank them for their time, and
I
we
did have
can
when we
discuss
talked
and
about it
think.
last time was and I don't know if you looked into it at all, Mark, but it talks about in here, like description of premises and the use of different areas, the ball field, softball, and then it, where was it? I lost it. Located, a portion of which is located out of the village of Romeo and Bruce Township. Can we include a lease in the village, giving
can.
them access to stuff that's not ours?
Well, it is yours.
It is
You own
ours.
the property, it's just part of it's in Bruce Township. It's like owning the DPW garage, which is in Armada Township. The village owns it. You have to abide by the township, Armada Township zoning ordinances, but it's
I
not.
understand. I thought.
It's like our
and
cemetery.
Please correct me, because a lot of different input from different past administrators and whatnot. I believe, or I thought the portion up on top, which goes into Bruce, was not village. It was in some type of consortium.
Not to my knowledge, it's
Well-
all owned by the village. I've never seen anything that would indicate it's not. If it exists, I'd certainly want to see that.
Okay. I will see if I can dig that up, because that's where I thought this played in, and I thought that was a different group past. Basically, if you took the cemetery line straight across the field, past that was not village.
Well, it might not be in the village, but the village owns it.
Okay.
I can't walk out of the building and tell you where the village boundaries are, but by the verbiage that was intentionally included in the lease, there's an acknowledgement that some of that property is not in the village, but it nevertheless is owned by the village. I can't give you a point of demarcation where that is. I just know that that's the circumstance. And if that's not the case, then obviously you would want to know that, and I certainly would want to know that as well.
Okay. I'll do a little digging.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then I guess let's all mill over it. Do we want to have a subcommittee and any further discussion? You want to bring it back next month to discuss and actually give recommendations? How would we like to move forward?
I think just keep it as a board item.
And just come back next month and see how everyone's thoughts,
Yeah.
grabbing from all the residents' opinions?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Nice to meet
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
If you have any further questions, I'm sure be willing to answer them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Moving on. We have our permitted parking area, outdoor storage of recreational vehicles ordinance update. Back in December of 2023, brought this to Planning Commission asking for an update as this is an ordinance on the books. This is an ordinance on the books that we don't follow. So do we want to change it, or do we want to really start enforcing this? So the Planning Commission has had it since December 2023. They've discussed it, they've gone back and forth with Karen, our planner.
Times, yeah.
This is the updated amendment to state that the outdoor storage of recreational vehicles is allowed behind the principal building or on a paved area parallel the principal structure or in a driveway parked at least 3 feet from the road and does not block the sidewalk or conflict with the corner clearance. In the past, it had to be behind the building and also within the appropriate setbacks of side and back.
This is the planning commission update.
This is what,
Yeah, this is kicked back and forth
Make a motion to accept it, the way it is, present
with changes.
with these current changes that you submitted to the board.
we have a motion by Fowler.
So there was a lot of discussion back and forth on this. Obviously, it took some time.
Could I interrupt 1 second? Do we have a support?
Oh, sorry.
Support by Bartholomew.
So
Proceed.
Some of the hesitation was, yeah, you're allowed to park in the back behind the house, but it doesn't say anything about having to be on any type of paved structure or gravel or anything like that. So that was a concern. Some people had a concern with it being allowed in the front yards, even with some setbacks. So, I mean, it's went back and forth. I don't know if it was ever 100%.
That's where I remember the original complaints were more like people put in their RV in the driveway, right in the front yard, and leave it there for a year.
Yeah, which
And
is.
so the
which is
neighbors have to
tough.
look at it.
And you got different situations and different circumstances throughout the village. I've been on both sides of this one, so it's,
Yeah,
I mean, right out here, I mean, it's how many hundreds of feet off the road, and it's sitting back, it's in the front yard, and no one ever really even sees it. But it's
I
still in
mean,
the front.
I guess if I were to vote for this, I would want at least, at a minimum, a time frame. You know, you could, maybe you could park it in front of your house, but maybe a month, or 2 weeks, or some kind of time frame. Because you can't just park it there and leave it there for a year, or 2 years, or
Well,
whatever it
just,
is.
just like we have other ordinances, working order, plated, that sort of thing. I just say the difficulty in enforcement is paying attention to how long it's been there.
Well, I can imagine that.
And the fact
But at
that,
least
well, I
you've got
pulled it,
something.
I pulled it out and I took it for a week, but then I put it right back in the same place.
It's a matter of having something, whether you keep track of, you almost have to count on the neighbors to call it in from that standpoint. You can't really be,
Well, or,
well, you can't chalk tires anymore, but you can't chalk the thing and say,
In their own
okay,
car?
come back in a week, and if it's still there, the chalk mark.
yeah.
No, but
I
you
got it,
can,
but-
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but
No.
you could say, like, May through September.
Well, that's true
So
too,
it's
because
seasonal.
that's, the other problem is they'll park it for the winter,
Right.
the whole time there, the front
So then
yard.
do you need to address the other months of the year and what would be appropriate?
I don't
for
know.
the rest of the
offhand.
year?
I'm just, right now, I'm
Yeah,
just
spitballing.
pulling things out of the
Gotcha.
sky.
I don't know, then to me,
But I just want to try to protect the rest of the neighborhood. As
Yeah.
much as I understand, it's convenient for people to park it right there.
yeah.
And, for a day, 2 week, whatever, okay, I can understand that, but, and the neighborhood can understand that. But if it gets going on for,
I feel
months
like I
on
would,
end.
to your point, then just bring it back to the house line. And it's at the house line
From the front of the house or the rear?
of the front.
The front.
I would, yeah.
I mean, we can do that in addition to, like Justin's point, if you have a really big front yard, maybe we can have a footage from the road or something. I think this is a fine ordinance for May through September, but I think they should be behind the house or
Which
level
is-
with the house for the rest of the year.
Which is understandable, but then I just want to point out, we need to then
Right,
throw it back to them and say, please address the rest of the time of the year.
right.
Behind the house.
Justin, what were some
I'd
of
be comfortable with
Karen's
that.
insights on the, on the topic? You said she weighed in a little bit during the planning commission?
Not much, really. I mean, she just helped with some definition of, the parking area and stuff like that. It was
Oh,
more-
Karen,
What's that?
Karen?
Yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah.
didn't catch who you're talking about.
Yeah, so obviously we kicked back and forth a lot. I don't know if we talked about the seasonal stuff. I mean, that's something I can bring back to planning if you guys want to send it back.
I'll withdraw
I've got a
my
motion on
motion.
the table, but we could kick it around for another month. or
I say, this is my
so.
concern in bringing this to the board is that, again, December of 2023, It's been a year.
I mean,
Government doesn't need to be fast, it just needs to be right.
Well, you've narrowed down a lot, so you're down to the last, it should be quick.
but in all fairness, it hasn't been being discussed for the last 12 planning
No,
commission
I mean, it
meetings.
was, yeah, drafted, and then we didn't see it for a month or two, and then it came
Yeah.
back, and,
Yeah, personally, I mean, I'm fine with being lenient in the summer. I'm a camper too, so I don't want to get bullied out of anything, but the storage is where it becomes, you know,
Right.
Well, this
eyesore
includes-
or a problem or whatever you want to call it. And that's the extreme circumstances, but that's kind of what you have to plan the ordinance around.
This is rec, so boats, trailers with RVs, or ORVs, whatever.
That's campers and
All the
motorhomes.
stuff,
It's
yeah, it's everything.
Boats.
recreational vehicles.
So how would that apply to businesses that are non-conforming in residential? Would that apply to them as well, or?
Is it a business or a residence? I mean, where this is talking about, under the minimum parking, we're under residential. Do you see what I
That goes with
mean?
the zoning, that doesn't go with the usage. Right, my understanding would be if it's in the residential neighborhood, it would, and I could be wrong. I'm just trying to-
Residential zoning district.
Because I
Yeah.
think like oh God, I can't the name of the place is on Sisson there, the car. I mean, they park everything, I think, in back.
Oh,
I haven't
where
been
Glenn's
there.
garage used to
Yeah.
be? Yeah.
I was thinking more like, it's now the Brit, but it was Fred's Market. That's
Yep.
zoned residential. They've been granted the special use for photography. They asked about storage. They were told there is no storage, and yet there are boats out there. So now I'm wondering, how would that apply? Is it just residential, or is it, that'd be your question.
Yeah,
too,
no,
I guess.
we'll have to bring that one back, because I would assume, and that's an assume, that it's the residential district. It's not the usage. If it's in the residential, that's what we're discussing.
Okay.
Clerk Lucero would like to jump in on it.
Sorry. With respect to the photography studio, I was the chair of the ZBA at the time. We did tell them no kind of storage whatsoever, that if they had.
Outside.
Yeah, outside. They had in their plans or in their master plan, and this originally, the first person to come up pertaining to that property was Mr. Pat Vinkier, and he had plans that there was going to be a garage attached to the building off to the side. When he sold it to the next owner, the photography studio, it was our understanding as the ZBA that if they needed storage, they would continue with Mr. Vinkier's plan. And we had told them that no outdoor storage would be allowed. So if they are violating the variance that was granted to them as well.
Right.
So just give you guys a history on that.
I was on that, I voted on that. I was
Oh my
there.
God, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, so that's
Sorry.
why I was kind of like, yeah,
Just for yourself.
Yeah.
Whoops.
that's okay.
And they are residential.
It is residential, yes.
Okay, so this item at hand, what would we like to specifically ask the planning commission to,
I've got seasonal, potential time limits, front line of
If
the
it-
house and back for maybe off season,
Yeah, just stricter in the off
Or-
season.
Mind, yeah.
just no parking at all.
and I would still,
Off-season?
I would still like to see the setbacks. I mean, this doesn't
Yeah.
give you any 5 feet off your fence. They could park it right next to your fence, either way.
All right.
And I'm talking over wintering in the back with the setbacks.
Yeah.
Okay, motion was rescinded by Fowler.
Yes.
Did you do,
There was no second.
I did.
Oh, you
well,
did?
Nathan
Okay.
seconded so we
Yeah.
could discuss, but now it's rescinded.
Yes.
All right, I will take it back.
You know, one other thing, Justin, if I could just mention it, over the years, I've noticed some campers and RV, they'll have an extension cord run out there and they'll have company stay in them.
So maybe we could tell them I can't use them like that.
I don't know if that falls into this, or if that would
Airbnb.
fall into something completely
Yeah, I'm
different.
not sure.
Because
Just
this
wanted
is
to bring
just
it up.
storage of them, use of,
Yeah, we do have different ordinance
yeah.
specifically speaking to no living in, I don't know the term, outbuildings or however that it's worded.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to the planning commission, please.
That's all.
Our council rules of procedure, updated. I sent the attachment, the working document to trustee Rousseau, so you see, I put in the current, and then the second is with the proposed, has, she highlighted her, any adjusted areas.
So it wasn't a lot of changes, some of it was just a little bit more specific. And then some of it was based on feedback. So the yellow is changes or additions. The blue, there's a couple blue spots that are more for bring to the attention, for discussion, because I didn't necessarily either want to word it or had questions about it.
So let's start at the beginning,
Sure.
run through it. Do you see the recommendation for if a meeting goes past to give additional pay? I do see the big question mark too. I don't,
That's my deterrent.
we're going past the meeting time.
That didn't come from me specifically, but it's a nice deterrent.
Well, and I do note it does say trustee, so does that not denote president?
This one,
It says trustee, so that would not denote president.
we can add it.
We're bored.
Should say board, yeah.
We
I'm
can add
just
Mark
saying.
Clark, too.
At that point, $75 would essentially be a special meeting. So whether you did it then or you call a special meeting to continue, I feel like we're already here, so it's not that much of an inconvenience as
Yeah.
much as it is at a special meeting. It's another day of your time, so that money at a special compensates for an additional day in time.
Half? 37.50?
Half is
something like
fine.
that?
There
I
are
don't
lots of
know.
other things I
But,
added in
again,
here
I-
to help
Yeah.
the meetings stay on track,
Yeah.
which
I
is
just,
to keep them a little shorter, so I would rather try those routes first. But
I
that came from
understand.
someone else, so whatever you guys want.
I just feel that money isn't the way to do it.
Okay?
We could just draw a hard and fast line.
Yeah, but, so, again, not thinking money's the answer, but if we do draw a hard and fast line at 10, and there is stuff that needs to be done, do we table, then call a special meeting, and vice versa, the same thing's gonna happen? Or does everything just get tabled to the following month, and then we just create a pile of unfinished business?
Or we just sit here and do our business.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the solutions, I mean, maybe we could look at putting a cap on unfinished or new business or committee reports or officer reports,
I think
special
That's in
presentation.
there.
Yeah,
Right, so I think we're accomplishing it two ways. I don't think the money really, we're already here. If there's business to conduct, we shouldn't be debating on whether we're gonna conduct the business or not, on if I'm gonna get another $37. I mean,
yeah,
we gotta conduct the
Scratch it.
business.
Okay.
I would
Scratch.
scratch that.
scratch that.
All right.
Do you want to, in a different way? And the extension says, extension by the council, you could throw in a majority, a super majority, and then you just not have a majority. I don't know if that makes a difference to you.
So everyone's here, it's 5, not 4?
Yeah,
Just a thought.
yeah,
I
it's
say
not
we
a bad
just-
idea.
I don't know, I think the other changes that I read in here, I think, let's just look at
Should
these,
address it.
and I think we'll speed this up.
I agree.
And I don't even know if we need to address that, and if we do definitely look, or we're supposed to look at these after the new board is after election
Elected.
anyways. So we can bring it back up when appointments happen or something. Cool, cool. What was your thoughts on the blue for 2, just the wording?
Yeah, special meeting shall be called by the clerk upon the written request of the village president, or any 3 members of the council, and at least 24 hours written notice to each member. The question being, do we want to be specific about that procedure? Because it seems that different, as positions change and people change, the interpretation is different. So any 3 members of the council, how do we want that communication to come across? Does the council have to make a phone call?
Well, it says writing currently,
Put it
right?
in,
Quick,
I'm sorry,
Lucero,
what was it saying?
jump in.
Are you speaking any 3 members, or, I know there was an issue last time where I said the requirements weren't met. The way I interpreted that line, and I had asked legal as well, is that one cannot speak for all. So there needs to be 3 separate communications made by the ones calling the meeting, rather than, if it's not done properly, and then you continue to get people saying, I am in support of this meeting, but it was never done correctly in the first place, then it was never truly called. And that was where the issue was there. So if I receive one, then for me, I would say that everybody needs to voice that, not I support. I would like to call a meeting based on this.
So one email with 3 names with everybody copied on it isn't
No.
where they could. Okay.
Because you're speaking for someone else, and I understand the argument that if someone had a problem with that, they could just speak up. But for me, I think if we're talking about procedure, I think it would be prudent for everybody to speak up so there is a paper trail.
Yes.
So everybody says the same thing, there's a paper trail. That way, if there's any question as to how something got called, or any, because I look at it that way, how do we insulate ourselves?
Right.
If there is someone questioning and wanting to FOIA why a certain meeting may have been called or whatnot, are we going to run into, again, I'm interpreting it one way, if someone's FOIAing and looking at that, and they might interpret it a different way.
Right.
They may agree, they may disagree, but if they see it and they're reading all of it and say, oh, well, 3 people didn't call it, one person called it with 3 people's names on it, I just don't want to walk into a potential murky water situation.
Right, and that's why it's here to say, okay, what do we need to do? So Mark, how would you recommend that gets worded so that it is clear?
Well, I think it's clear in that it says 3 members. I may disagree a little bit with Mr. Lucero. I would think if you accept an email as being genuine, let me go from the general to the specific. So if I send an email and I don't have an electronic signature on it, it's just an email, but it's from me, and I say, well, I and these 2 other people want to call a special meeting, maybe not that, but if all 3 join in the same email, I'm not sure as a practical matter, you need to have 3 separate emails. The 3 separate emails would be more expansive and perhaps explain more or identify more, but to me, you have a basic question, regardless if it's 1, 2, or 3, are you accepting the validity of an email? And if the answer is yes, if I get an email from Mrs. Rousseau and I accept that email, and if it's included 2 other people whose names also appear in the email and are copied on the email, I mean, you, as a board, have to decide whether you feel satisfied with that. I agree with Mr. Lucero, it shouldn't be one email, somebody saying, yeah, I and these two other people, we want this, or a phone call, I know it says in writing, but to make the example, a phone call, I and two of my colleagues on the board want to call a special meeting. I agree with Mr. Lucero, you need a little more, proof is not the right word, but substantiation, I guess. So you could go as far as to say 3 separate writings, if that's what you want. You have to decide what your comfort level is as a board, because these are your rules of procedure. They govern your conduct, but they also, while you have to adhere to them, or you shouldn't adopt them if you don't intend to adhere to them, they don't have the force of an ordinance.
Right.
It's just how you're going to conduct your business.
Right.
So I'm not sure there's a magical word or two. Again, if you said 3 separate requests in writing for the same meeting, that would certainly, to me, cover the waterfront, but you just have to decide what degree of acceptance you have for the request.
See, the email thing doesn't sound that bad.
If everyone's
Everyone was
included,
copied on
Everyone
it.
was
because
copied
part of
on
it,
it,
it's not
so-
just notifying the clerk, it's notifying the entire board and the clerk.
Which I viewed as a separate, I viewed as a necessary but separate item, in that the 3 requested, but let's say the room isn't available, or let's say there's, a plague breaks out, or whatever it might be. My point is that you should first decide, do we have enough to have the special meeting? And if then you do, then everybody gets notice. I don't know that those have to happen at the same time. They could, but if 3 of you decide and the other 4 are copied, who finds out whether the meeting is set or not? Then is the response to all 7? It should be, in my opinion, you would want to make sure that it was, 1, acknowledged, and there will be a special meeting, and then everybody gets notice. So I looked at, it might be inefficient, but the calling of the meeting is slightly separate, or I'll say preliminary, to the notice to everybody else.
So should we change that wording then, so that it is separate? Because it all kind of flows into one.
It depends what your intent is.
Right, yeah, you have to decide how you want to do it.
What does our team want to do?
I'm fine with the email.
I'm fine with the
If the
email
board
also.
is all copied, obviously it's not a time to communicate for discussion, but if
Yeah, you can't
Matt-
do a
Matt
round robin.
includes
You can't.
myself and Nolan in that we're calling the meeting, we're all have access to it. If we deny, we can easily deny that.
I kind of have a problem with it. We have a pretty bad track record as a board with our emails. I don't even know if everyone on this board uses their email or has access to it since we changed passwords over a year ago.
The only
So-
time I had an issue was when it just changed in one day. I come in, I got this new email. And it took me quite some time
Yeah.
working with previous people to get that access, but
I don't know that everyone has access. So if you're gonna submit an email and CC 2 people and they don't check in 24 hours notice and they didn't agree to it and we call a special meeting, that's a problem. I think it needs to be 3
That'd be an
separate
ethical issue more
written.
so than,
Doesn't matter. I mean,
Yeah.
the meeting would already been called. I think it needs to be 3 separate written pieces of communication. Even if they just comment on that thread and say, I do, it's a new email and they're a part of it, I agree. But if I just CC 2 other board members and they might not check their email in a 24-hour span, that's all it takes to call a special meeting. That's kind of a problem.
Well, you'd want to talk to the board members before you send an email.
But keep in mind, I apologize for repeating myself, you cannot conduct business in a round robin email exchange. It violates the Open Meetings Act. So however you structure this, it has to fit within the Open Meetings Act.
so I wrote the last email and included the other 2 trustees who requested it. I sent it specifically to the clerk and the president, but copied everybody. As a professional courtesy, to me and as a team, for everybody to know what was happening, and said, do not reply. So for me, it was more so just a courtesy to let everybody know, and we shouldn't reply, but if the team would rather have 3 separate emails, or 4 or 5, or however many people call it, that's
Yeah.
fine. I think then the other 1 or 2 or 3 people who don't know what's happening aren't going to know until they get a packet on their front step.
Well,
And so
that's where
it's-
I think Mark touched on it a little bit. I think that can be, the calling of the meeting can be a separate process. To me, I did appreciate the notice that we're attempting to call a meeting. I never even saw the third person comment on it anyway. But I think, in my opinion, you can individually contact the president that you want to call a special meeting. Once she gets 3 people, there can be a formal process where everybody is notified.
Yeah, that's the packet arriving at your doorstep.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm fine with it. I'm fine with just the notification of an email saying we're having a meeting too. We can do that. The calling of the meeting can be separate from you notifying the president you want to call the meeting. Once it's actually an official meeting, that can be more formalized. That's fine. I don't know if you need to CC everybody for one person attempting to call a special meeting. Because now, what if that second and third piece of communication get missed? I don't know if we have a meeting or not. I don't know if it's confirmed or not. Sometimes we don't even get a physical packet. Sometimes we just have the email of one agenda item.
So you would rather not know until you're informed of it?
Yeah, until it's official. It was more confusing to me that week was a couple days of back and forth, and I didn't know if we were having a meeting or not, because there was an attempt to schedule a meeting, and then some pushback saying it wasn't done right, and then I only saw one other email after that saying I am in support of this meeting. I never saw a third person call it, and then 2 days later I got confirmation that we were having a meeting via text. So it was scattered and it was confusing. So I'm just airing out
I can respect that. It was confusing.
visual
I mean,
of
the
what happened.
clarification of it, and me and Jamie talked. Hey, just say you want 3 separate emails, because I don't think any of us requirements were met. I'm like, this is how we
Well,
do it, right?
and
So,
initially,
we had a conversation, there was no blame
It
being
was sent to
thrown
just
because-
me. Jamie was left out of it. Then I had to forward it on to
He
him.
shouldn't have been, I copied.
Yeah.
That's just how it happened.
Okay, so it was, something was
Okay.
missed, so.
We're splitting
We're saying
hairs.
Three separate emails.
But we're trying to be thorough, because it was a
We are.
concern for the clerk,
Yeah.
so
We
And I
are.
wasn't
We're working
trying
on it.
to stop you guys from doing business. I just, stepping into this role when things have not been done correctly for such a long time. That's what I was saying to you guys, is I never received the request. So if you guys then respond to that request, say, I am in support of the request, I never received the request properly. So I can't acknowledge an email that says I'm in support of a request that technically never came to me. And I was trying to tell you guys, I can't tell you guys how to word things for yourselves and for business. And Mr. Parker and I had that discussion. He's like, well, can I say this? I said, Justin, I can't tell you what to say. I will tell you what I would imagine you would want to send to me, but I can't tell you what to say. You guys
Right.
are the board. So,
Megan, then, because it says it can be called by the clerk upon written request of the village president or any 3 members. So if there's 3 or 4 members who have that request, do we all just want to agree that each member sends it in individually straight to the clerk and no one else is notified until they receive their packet?
I think so. Let me know
And
if the meeting's
then, mind you,
official.
special meetings are only 24-hour notice, which then runs into, are we going to be able to get a quorum? Are we going to get people? And that was part of the
Right.
courtesy.
So for clarification for me, it's 24 hours notice once that third person makes that attempt to.
That's correct.
To schedule it,
I would
right?
think.
Yeah, yeah.
And within that 24 hours, you have to, within 18 hours before, you have to post.
Agenda.
Right, so it's a quick,
I don't think we call too many
No.
next day.
And we have.
So would that help you? 3 individual,
Yes.
three or more
Yes.
directly to the clerk? And then will you respond back?
Yes, so
Or-
what I did with that whole email chain, because I didn't want to get into muddy waters, like Mr. Clark has already identified, by conducting business over email.
Right.
I was emailing my response to you, to each board member individually, so it wouldn't become an issue with open meetings.
Right.
And I have no problem doing that either, once I get all of that. Any requests, I have no problem then emailing, to kind of split it down the middle with where Mr. Kerr says, let them know when it's scheduled. At the same time, before the packets go out, I can then reach out to everybody and say, hey, this is what you're going to be receiving this. So then people might chime in, at least they have a little bit of heads up that this is going down.
That'd be nice, yeah.
That would be very much appreciated and probably more efficient so that we can make sure people can attend.
You work on that, Warden?
Okay, if I could just go back to
Yeah.
regular meetings, number 1, meetings end at 10 o'clock. We've been working on 2 paragraphs out of 8 pages for over 20 minutes.
That's why I said, we just would do our business.
This meeting's going to end in 54 minutes, and we've got 9 more items to address. So I would suggest we put this aside. There's nothing that needs to be done by tomorrow with this. We finish the rest of the items on here. We pick this back up if there's any time left. We go over what we can till 10 o'clock, and then we table the rest.
All right, Matt.
My only thought.
Because otherwise, we're going to be here till
Matt,
midnight.
I 100% agree. The only thing I would request then is that everyone should have already read this, looked through this, and had their comments and ready to go.
Then what's with the
Now.
same discussion? As much as I agree.
You know what I mean?
And we have, and we've all read, and it took us 25 minutes to get there, to 2 paragraphs.
And that's why there's more in here that helps narrow down the time
I
frame
agree.
of the meeting.
I'm not saying we shouldn't go through it, but you're automatically killing the meeting from a time standpoint. Not you, but
Right.
we are.
I agree.
All right. So we'll move this to the end.
Tabled until the end of the
I
meeting.
would table to the end of the meeting and we do what we can till 10 o'clock.
Perfect.
Does anybody want to Matt made a
I'll
motion?
support.
Support by Parker. All in favor?
Aye. All right.
Our short-term rental moratorium. Again, this is an item we talked about back in June. I put in here that you could see the motion that was made, how it was made. In October, Planning Commission had discussion on it. Didn't know where we wanted to go with this. I just wanted to make sure that we had this on our radar because we put a 6-month moratorium on it. Is there anything in this language, just like we did with the parking or the vehicles, is there anything else that you want to address? Because this is what they're honing in on and looking at. So for instance, I will read it. Short-term rental discussion by Karen spoke about state legislation for short-term rentals. The Village of Romeo does not have anything in place for short-term rentals. The majority of the Planning Commission would like to prohibit short-term rental in the residential district for lodging purposes. Karen Lavere will draft something to review for next meeting. The Planning Commission suggested language to be added to the bed and breakfast ordinance that reads, a full-time resident needs to be on site. So, do we have any issue with the fact that the Planning Commission would like to prohibit short-term rental in the residential district?
And the residential was anything used as residential, it wasn't just the residential district. So,
No, I'm in favor.
Okay.
I like it. The only thing I'd like to see maybe is some, I don't know if it's broader or stricter is the right word, but clarification on what actually is a short-term rental, so we can cover,
The definition?
Yeah, that'll be
just a
part of-
strong definition. yeah.
Okay.
and bed and breakfasts do not fall into that category.
Nope, they are completely
They
separate.
are, we'll say, protected to some extent.
Right.
The addition into ours of a full-time resident, that is already at the state level. It is not anything we're adding additionally.
And we do
We just
have
want it
something
very
about a
clear.
full-time, I don't think the word resident is used, but someone's living there full-time.
Caretaker.
It just doesn't have the word resident.
So it says Karen will draft something to review for the next meeting. Is that the planning commission meeting?
Yes, so
Okay.
November.
So we'll see something.
All right. I'm
Okay,
good.
cool. I just want to make sure we're heading all in the right time, the right place.
Thank you.
So our proposed updated tree ordinance, we've seen this before. They did the one update that, should there be act of God emergency, that we will address it as the village. Otherwise, we've been walking through care together. A motion, discussion.
I'll make a motion to accept the proposed updated tree ordinance.
We have a motion by Shelley.
I'll support.
Support by Parker. I do have just a couple notes of discussion. I would just like to have the tree board, if we could just make essentially a roles or a procedure. We have this now, but even as we're walking through it, we're going, now what do we do? Now what do we do?
Yes.
So if we can get some sort of working procedure.
Policy and procedure.
Yep. All in favor of approving ordinance as presented tonight? Aye.
Aye.
Do we have any opposed? We have none opposed. Okay, we have.
Good job.
Oh,
Thank you.
pardon me. Nolan is opposed. I know. So we have our parking ordinance update. So this was drafted in response to paid parking, so that our ordinance would fall in line, that we no longer, I have both for you, so the proposed and then original here, so that you can compare and see that the timeline, that's a question that's been brought up multiple times. So we've adjusted the ordinance to address that, to take out the time.
Like the duration of time?
Correct.
Okay.
So 3-hour parking. Now, this has taken out 3-hour time frame of parking, and you can pay for all the hours you want.
All the hours.
So that way, what we're intending can be enforced.
I just parked up at Michigan State University last week, and it was pretty much that. You went up to this box, put in all your information and your cell phone number, and literally as the time would expire, or just before the time would expire, they would actually send you a text that says, do you want more time? And then you could put yes, and it would charge you, ask you how much more time right on your phone, and it would just charge your credit card or whatever you had. It was really convenient. But there was no time limit. You could be there for 8 hours if you wanted.
And you're going to pay for it.
You're
The
gonna
other,
pay for it, yeah.
the other part that was updated was also parking any vehicle on the quadrant for more than 3 hours between these hours of 9 and 6, so that was stricken. I tried to highlight everything so you would see the differences. So there is a ordinance and then a fine that goes along with it. So they both, because they go together, have been taken out.
So, yeah, that's what I was looking for. You said we were taking out the duration because it's almost unenforceable, right? We had no way of mandating. How are we gonna do that 3-hour here then?
You're not, that's being pulled out. That's what I'm saying, is that's what currently is on, and
3
this.
is coming out.
This is what is proposed. So that is what has, I wanted you to be able to see what is in our current ordinance, and then have
Okay, I
the
guess.
draft, where it no longer, you see it says repeal.
So this is.
Where is it?
Okay.
4273, violation and fine subsequent is deleted and stricken from the Romeo Village ordinance governing parking. So we are deleting that sentence.
Okay. I thought that was changed, and I couldn't find the change.
No, that's current.
Oh, I see. That's where I got confused.
Okay, do we have motion discussion?
I'll make a motion to adopt the updated parking ordinance as presented.
We have a motion by Care,
Support?
support by Edwards. Do we have all in favor? Aye. Do we have any opposed? We have none opposed. We have a DDA and Village Parking Lot Agreement. This was a conversation that was had more so to address parking in lieu of fee. kind of, as this conversation is continued between the village and the DDA, what was intended for this parking fee for capital improvement infrastructure has then evolved into maintenance and care. And the DDA says that they would prefer, no, that's a separate, that the fee goes for purchase, capital improvement, and then we have maintenance and care separately. So that's asked Mr. Clark to draw this up. Essentially, this takes us into that, we would receive the funds from the parking meters, the app, but then also separately talks about in section 5 how the DDA will share in the expense of the maintenance. So these are kept separate. The DDA has talked about, because at this moment we are unsure how much we spent on the care and the maintenance of the parking lots, the way that hours are billed. They feel comfortable with offering 10% of the cost or $3,875, whichever is the lesser at this time. They feel comfortable that they have that money to share.
And that's yearly, right?
Yes, and it's
Is it per
for
parking lot? or-
3 years. No, that's total. This is for, in section 1, for a term not exceeding 3 years. If I recall correctly, that was because that is the term of that app.
In here, and I can't find it, was there, now I know where to go. Where it talked about, they'll give us the money back and forth, or they charge like an administrative fee?
So in section 2, if possible, the fees generated by the paid parking system within the DDA area shall be paid directly to the village. If the fees generated are not capable of being paid to the village, said money shall be received by the DDA and paid over to the village not less than quarterly, less an administrative fee that is approved by the Village of Romeo Council from time to time. I have in here, I guess I should have it in parentheses, DDA suggestion of 10%. So administration means rolling this out, flyers, time, signage, those sorts of things. And they are assuming 10%. We don't know yet. We haven't done this before.
I mean, if, in that situation where they're holding the money, wouldn't it would come out of there anyways, right? And they're just paying for the stuff. If the money, my understanding is saying the money can't be transferred to the village, they're gonna handle everything, and they want 10% on top of that for doing,
So what will happen, say they get $5,000 for October.
yeah.
It goes to the DDA. The DDA quarterly, okay, say they get $5,000 for the 3 months. So $15,000. They hold 10% and send the rest as a check onto the village.
And what do they do with that 10%?
That's what I'm saying, is that's the flyers, the administration, anyone has an issue, they're not calling the village to talk through the issues with parking. They're going to be calling the DDA, the director, they're going to be dealing with that.
I would hope, I see our
90%
our
then?
dispatch getting a lot of calls.
Pardon me?
We get 10% or they get 10%?
They're keeping 10%.
To cover the costs.
Oh, they're
Of-
keeping
They're
10.
keeping 10, and we're
Yeah.
getting 90% for the maintenance and everything, snow plow.
No, we're getting 90% for capital improvement. Essentially, purchase, redoing of the parking lot. Maintenance is then addressed in number 5, 2 separate.
Okay.
And they'll give $3,875 for maintenance.
So I mean, in this scenario, I feel like there's some administrative fees upon rollout, but after the initial functionality of it, I don't know why they have to retain 10% of all the parking generated. It just seems like a lot.
Well, what would we like?
I guess I wouldn't mind trying it for the 3 years. I mean, it is limited, so until we really get our
We could throw something in there.
subtraction and know what the real numbers are.
You could throw a sentence in that at the end of the year, if they can't prove the withholdings of the 10%, they turn that over with the next
Oh, that's
quarter.
good. That'd be another way to do it.
Yeah, after the first
I-
year.
I guess to some degree, we're all just poking sticks at something we don't really have any history on or knowledge of.
Correct.
or-
That's why they just threw out 10%.
So, until we get some of that traction, that's gonna take a,
We have a little bit of history in that the residents don't like paid parking.
that's true.
That's,
Yeah, I
we
mean.
know that.
But I thought that was gonna be taken care of, though.
It does
And
not
your annual
integrate.
pass,
I guess, yeah, we're beating it up, because I mean, if you read it, it says, approved by village council from time to time, so we can adjust that 10%
Sure, yeah.
at any point. So if,
It doesn't say anything.
That's what I'm saying. They've offered 10% at this time. I think that's appropriate.
That's fine.
yeah,
'Cause we're-
from time to time, if we can
But they
adjust
didn't
it, as
actually
long as
do
they,
it. That's what you're
report-
saying.
we ask for, they show us how much has been spent. It's not 10%, let's move on, I'm good with it.
Are we good with
I'd like
this?
to
So
see-
is this the document that would allow for the concession to residents, like Mr. Edwards said? Would
No,
that be in
this
here?
strictly has to do with how funds are going to be handled.
Okay, so it's not to do with anybody that has to pay or not pay.
Correct. That's part of the program that they're going to roll out. This has to do with how the monies will be handled.
Okay. Well, I'll go with Justin.
Yeah, we can change it.
Well, we had a motion by Care, is that correct? Who do we have by?
I don't know.
I don't think I made a motion.
Oh, was that the last one?
No,
I
that was the
apologize.
last one.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the village and DDA parking lot agreement.
Support?
Do we want to accept this 10%? That's where I say, I should have had that in parentheses. That's what they've offered. Do you want to, what percent would you like in there? We're
That's
adopting
kinda
it from
like-
time to time.
It's kind of like what Justin was said though, I mean, we can adjust it anytime we want, but we got to get some kind of numbers down that we can actually track.
So I just want you to
Because right now, we're just
note
guessing,
10%
and
then.
they're guessing.
Right, I'm just saying, note in your motion that you accept with the 10%.
Oh, okay,
Justin?
yeah.
Justin, would you feel comfortable changing the term to 18 months instead of 3 years?
I think the 3 years is there because that's the lease agreement, right?
That's how long they have the app for. I do believe there is different outages. You can, it's a 30, 60, 90-day written notice, so if there was an end to it, it's not a hard and fast 3 years, if I'm recalling correctly. But that is where that came from.
Yeah,
Okay.
for a term not exceeding 3 years.
So at any time, if they decided to end it, then this all is done.
Okay.
And I guess I'll remake my motion, but is everyone comfortable still with the 3875 or 10% for their portion of the
Maintenance.
maintenance?
Yeah.
No, I think it's too low.
Well,
What was that?
I agree. The comment was it was too low. I agree,
Yeah.
however, that's the money that they know for sure they have available, and it's something.
So the parking fees coming in, and it cannot be used for this, is that what we're saying?
Parking
It's
is for
going
capital,
Not just the general maintenance, the actual redoing of purchasing. So this is separate. So the parking fees coming in, we're collecting that for the big stuff.
Future parking lots and
Yeah,
repairs.
Future or full mill and fill and redo.
Asphalt, yeah.
This is just the yearly or every other year stuff we do, including snow plowing, salting and
yeah, I
whatnot.
tried to put everything in
I
there
gotcha.
that we would consider maintenance.
And they currently pay how much towards this?
Well, DDA,
They don't, do they?
but they don't reimburse money.
Yeah, so they currently don't do anything. So this is additional funds the DDA is willing to help support the parking lots for the DDA. I think
Well,
this,
they did offer to pay for the half of the study that's gonna have to be done,
Right.
period.
Well, we're talking about that next, so
Yeah.
we'll get there.
Okay.
yeah. So I don't see an issue with it. I mean, I think they're trying to do their part here.
And responsibly, this is what they know for sure they have on the books. If they end up with extra at the, however, I see them being willing to work. But I know that this is just their comfort level for what they've set aside.
Mark, and you drafted this?
Well, I drafted the things that aren't in yellow, I believe.
Okay, so yellow was added without.
Yes,
you.
after the DDA, at the DDA meeting, that was the discussion had there.
So
Like
real quick,
Mark-
I'll withdraw my original motion because it's going to be changed. But do you have any concerns with the changes that were made?
No. The original suggestion in paragraph 2 was that they would pay not less than quarterly an administrative fee that you have to approve, or you would grant them, you would grant them an administrative fee that you have to approve. So if you want to put a specific amount in there, you can do that, or if you want to take the suggested amount and not include it, that's fine. And the other changes, if they're willing to contribute the money, I don't see a problem with that. And I don't know what the DDA's intent was, but the language preceding the language highlighted in yellow in paragraph 5, it says not less than annually. So the way I read the change is that 10% or the 38.75, whichever is the lesser, would be paid each year of the 3 years, or each year the contract's in force. It's not a lump sum payment. Now, if the DDA thinks differently, then you'd have to adjust that language to have a meeting of the minds.
You know, the intention is annually, as the
And
verbiage.
that's what it says.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the 3 was just an open blank space of,
Years.
yeah.
So, Mark, you said what you drafted for section or paragraph 2 was a quarterly administrative fee that we agree on?
No, it
No.
says, all the language in 2 is my suggested language. The highlighted DDA suggests 10%. That was a suggestion, and that's why it's posed that way. Everything else prior to that, in that paragraph 2, is my recommended language.
So if the DDA hadn't suggested 10%, and we take that little yellow block out, it basically just says administrative fee that's approved by the council from
That-
time to
Right.
time.
That's why I'm
Right.
asking you, do you want 10%? And please
No,
put
I
it in your
understand.
motion
It
of what
just-
you're comfortable with.
Yeah, yeah, it makes more sense to me now. I
Yeah,
got
I
it.
think we should kind of see how it's rolling out.
Yeah.
And decide.
Let's
Like,
do
they could
that.
make $1 million in 6 months, and then we're getting, you know what I mean?
So
I don't
I'll
know.
remake my motion to approve the village and DDA parking lot agreement, including the 3-year term in paragraph 1, the removal of the DDA suggested 10% appropriation in section 2, and then in section 5 as written with the highlighted.
Support?
Okay, we have a motion by Parker, support by Edwards. All in favor? Aye. Do we have any opposed? Okay.
Yeah. I feel at that point, whatever they need, we can just approve it.
Okay, parking lot proposals. So this was brought back last month. There was a page missing. In that time, I also received communication from the DDA that they went out and asked for a quote. Their quote came back significantly less. I said, well, at this time, I can't entertain anything because we've all gone out and done separate things. I didn't talk to the Giffords Webster. You did. We have 2 differing amounts. At this point, I feel that RFQ is appropriate.
So we have to have that drafted.
Yep, and I mean, it's kind of here. It will be a
I guess we have to. Yeah.
having this, we can't honor something that, after we already had
$100,000
HRCs open to the public, and then theirs came in a month or 2 later after public conversation, and
Yeah.
so both can willingly, and rightfully so, apply for the RFQ, but I feel like at this point, the proper channel is RFQ.
Sealed bid.
I agree.
Okay, so that's where we're going with that. Okay, let us move into our new business, or ZBA appointment. With Clerk Lucero stepping into clerk's position, stepping out of the ZBA. I did put it out on social media, put it out on the website. Did I put it on the website? Now I'm questioning myself. We need ZBA members. Actually, there's still a third. If anyone wanted to apply, these are the only 2 that applied. I have spoken with both residents interested. One has background, one doesn't, but they are both willing to take the Zoning Board of Appeals class offered by MSU Extension. So I would recommend,
Not regarding the appointments, I'm not questioning them. Clerk Lucero is currently interim, we'll say. Election hasn't happened yet. If for some reason he does not, whatever, for some reason doesn't get the write-in vote, will he be able to step back onto the zoning board if he would like to?
if we wanted to well, correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, but my thought would be, he has stepped out, he has rescinded.
He has.
He would need
Okay.
to be
Okay,
reappointed.
yeah, okay, just for clarification, I want to make sure that and we're not telling him he has to go.
I agree, because the clerk can't sit on I believe the ZBA or the Planning Commission, and so if he resigns and somebody else is appointed, he's unsuccessful in the election, he'd have to request a new appointment or a reappointment.
Yeah, I didn't know
to a
he
vacancy.
resigned from the ZBA. I didn't know if he could, in the meantime, hold both because he's, we'll say, quote-unquote, acting clerk, and not to
No.
disregard. I just
No,
want to
be-
make sure we're protecting
No,
your step
because
back if needed.
No, because he's not acting, he is the village clerk.
Okay.
The question becomes, is he gonna be the village clerk after November 5th?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say I was acting, because I was not.
So this is
Understandable.
your,
Thank you for the clarification.
this is your appointment, or appointments.
These
Can
are my
we-
recommendations, and these are my support to Robert Segi and Dante Leo.
I'd like to make a motion to accept Robert Segi as what am I looking for here, to the ZBA.
I'll support.
We have a motion by Care, support by Fowler, I'm sorry, Parker, to appoint Robert Segi to the ZBA. All in favor?
Aye.
And I'll
Do we
make
have
a
any
motion-
opposed?
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right, none opposed?
I'll make a motion to approve Dante Leo to the ZBA.
Second.
We have a motion by Parker, support by Care, to appoint Dante Leo to the ZBA. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we'll be in communication and get everyone sworn in. Real business. More fun business. Wastewater treatment plant, Al. Or auger monster, which I'm sure Al can explain it in better terms, but essentially, when your waste gets down to the treatment plant, there are items in it sometimes. So they are caught, and the auger monster collects and pushes them to the collection bin. Equipment purchase here is $10,750.99. The installation is $13,500. So this is a combination of that whole cost. Go ahead, Al.
You said it great. We grind the stuff, anything that comes in, we grind it up. It's fed into an auger. Auger drops it into a bucket for us.
What's
The
the life,
auger's-
oh, I'm sorry.
The auger's quite large and needs to be taken apart with a crane and put back together with a crane. And the auger itself comes in two parts. The rest of the auger's fine, the motor, the gearbox, the rest of it's fine, but the actual auger itself needs to be replaced.
The life expectancy on this, because, correct me if I'm wrong, did we not work on this, I'd say in the past 4 or 5 years?
We put a gearbox on it,
Is that what it was? Okay.
yes.
Okay.
And then we're going to take that auger and we're going to donate to the Historical Society. Facetious.
Yeah. What is the life expectancy on these? On the wear and tear?
Depends on how often it comes on automatically.
Yeah.
So it depends on how often it comes on. And it depends on the flow.
Current one is how old?
Current one is over 20 years old.
Cool.
Think of Candace Miller's often, it's like her mantra is don't feed the, what is that, the swamp monster? Don't put the wipes down the drain. They are not actually flushable, biodegradable
Right.
wipes. Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the JWC equipment purchase for $10,750.99. You want them together or separate?
Do them together.
And the Midwest Power Systems installation cost of $13,500 for the wastewater treatment plant.
Support.
We have a motion by Parker, support by Bartholomew for complete purchase of equipment and install.
Last discussion, I forgot to ask. No one else can do this because I'm assuming it is specific to our, we don't need to go out for.
Right, this is the manufacturer's rep
That's what, okay,
that's
just
going to
for
be working on it.
clarification. Thank you.
All in favor? Aye. Do we have any opposed? We have none opposed.
I would have voted aye 5 minutes ago to avoid that conversation.
It is the highlight of all of the field trips.
I know.
I don't know, let's go to item C myself because I have not had time to draft that up. 'Cause I don't have a writable document.
We're tabling that?
There we go.
I haven't typed it up, so.
So do we want to move back? We do have 30 minutes to go back and continue to discuss our
I would suggest yes.
rules of procedure.
Where'd I put them?
Thank you for attending.
Good night. See you tomorrow, Sandra? Okay.
So we left off on calling the meeting. Did we want to maybe pick up on a different topic or go right back to the bullpen
What's the
there?
green one?
No, let's just write it however it's going to work for you, Jamie.
So I think, just to summarize, I think we agreed on 3 separate direct communications to the clerk.
Yep.
And then personally, I'd like to see the notification. He can blind copy us. I wouldn't mind a notification once the meeting is accepted. I think it clears out a lot of the confusion of a bunch of different emails.
Yep.
And then you're requesting for us to put regular and special agendas in the front of this building?
Well, it was already there. I just specified in the window with the address where the meetings occur. Down below, I added village website.
So you want the window as opposed, does it matter that it's in the
The shadow box?
thing? Just posted. I think just posted an address.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they can go in the
Is that
shadow
okay?
box.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't care. I just,
Or are we gonna worry about the 361 because it's technically not this address, correct? Oh, you brought that up in the past.
Yes, this is Walter Sheets.
Should we
Well,
make that a change across the
I
board?
don't think we want to confuse people.
Okay, we're gonna move on. All right, 3 sounds good. Remove the window.
Village website. Is that fine?
yeah, I just added it.
Yeah.
I
Any,
get
any opposed?
people check there,
Okay.
so.
Well, obviously, no, we didn't check for the agenda.
Nolan just discovered that all of the document, he's been looking at the whole packet online this whole
I've been
time.
analog the whole time. I have every single meeting envelope from when I started, and if I have to find something, it's like pulling teeth to
Yeah.
go back.
It
I keep all
only-
the agendas out on the front of it so that I can like quickly navigate to the right big yellow envelope.
It only goes back to, what am I hearing? I was like, it only, it only goes back to February of 22 though, so, or not February,
all right.
23.
Okay.
Study sessions? Is that an addition?
No, it just said the village president or the council. So,
I didn't even know we could do that.
yeah.
I think that's really cool.
You want 3 members?
I would say you probably couldn't have more than that.
Yeah.
To call it, or
Call
to,
the
Yeah.
study
3 is
session.
good, yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think that's
It
fine.
would be a little different. It would be the whole board if appropriate.
Yeah, it just said or the council, so I didn't want it to be just one person.
Right.
That's all.
I think it's fine.
okay. Council members may add topics to the agenda at a regular meeting with supporting documentation included. Is this a must? Is that a shall or a can? So if you're going to introduce something at a meeting, do you have to have supporting documents?
You don't have to, but if
Okay.
you have it, you need, if there is any, you have to.
Okay. Such requested additions will be for discussion only If the matter lends itself to voting action for the sake of an informed public and thoughtful decision-making, further discussion and voting will be held at the subsequent council meeting.
So you basically can't come to the meeting, put something on the agenda, and either have a document or not, and say, okay, now let's all vote.
Right. I mean, should there be some kind of backup maybe in case it's of utmost importance or anything? Should there be a line?
Well, if it's
In there.
utmost importance, I would think that would be the clerk or the president adding it or a special meeting.
That's fair. That's fine.
Oh, okay, maybe I didn't understand, because I can think of lots of reasons why. Like at the wastewater treatment plant, if it were to crash on Friday, and we have a meeting on Monday, we could add it up for Monday on the agenda, but we can't vote on it. That's kind of what, but if you're saying the president could put it on.
Yeah,
or the
this
clerk
just says
could put
the
it on.
council
Okay.
members, like if we bring something.
Somehow,
Yeah, I would argue
Yeah.
most emergencies are gonna be deemed emergency and the purchase is gonna be made and we're just gonna be
Yeah.
notified of it at
That's
the
what I
next
was
meeting.
gonna say, is I would pull
Yeah.
emergency when
Yeah.
necessary.
Then the president just act on it.
So we want that whole paragraph added. Good with it? You want it?
Could we,
I think it's fine.
I know it's not on here, Shelley, and I thought we talked about it, putting it in.
What?
Was adding another public comment to the end. I know I mean, there's time limit. I don't know if it's a different time limit for end of meeting public comments. I know no one wants to stay super long, but obviously if the meeting's done at 10, it's done at 10, and public comments are done at 10.
I feel like if the people have asked for it, they want it, they get 3 more minutes at the end. It's a time limit.
Is it
We
3
see-
more minutes, or that's their only 3 minutes?
It's not limited.
Yeah.
So you could do both public comments.
So
It
it'd
used
be-
to be
I
that way
wouldn't-
a while ago.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, no, it used to be.
I would say, I don't have a problem with public comments at the end, but I feel we have to have them at the beginning.
No, I'm saying
Because
both.
A lot of people have kids,
In
and
addition.
family, and they
Both.
gotta get back.
Right.
In addition.
Offering both.
Okay.
Now, would we not offer it if a meeting were to go past 10 PM?
I would say cutoff is 10, unless
Yeah, I
we've
agree.
extended to
Okay.
a certain time.
That's fine.
So after new business, before adjournment, add in,
Add another
Public
public
comment?
comment.
I think that's
Yep.
better than opening up for,
It cannot, we would not get business done.
yeah, exactly.
We can hardly get it
With us.
accomplished.
Okay, so before adjournment.
Yeah.
All right. Under approval of bills, sometimes it said council, sometimes it said village. Doesn't matter to me, but I thought we should pick one.
I think
Council
you
or
could even
village.
take out both and just say bills. Just-
Yeah. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter to me. Whatever we want. And then the credit card statements with corresponding receipts.
Well, I think the agenda calls it out as council bills, right? So,
Or,
Approval.
It says
Approval of
approval
bills.
of bills.
approval of bills.
All right.
So I guess I don't really care either. It's kind of a,
Yeah, it's back and forth.
it's one after
Bills
the
to
another.
include all bills. I don't care. All right,
Yeah,
nobody
it's all
cares, leave it
bills.
at council.
Yeah, I guess so.
Under council member reports, we didn't have the president specified, so I just did that separately.
Well, president is technically a member of the council. So, I mean, we can put it in separate or not, it
Nope.
doesn't matter.
I can leave it out. Council members. The report shall not exceed 3 minutes unless additional time is allowed by meeting chair. So that's for any council member. The chair can obviously award more than 3 minutes if they choose, but then also the chair is awarding themselves. And doesn't matter if everyone's cool with that, but just so you.
Would that include the clerk and the treasurer too?
Well, that's next,
That's
number
the next
4.
one down. Yeah.
I would think part of the duties of the president in the general law is to bring any matters before the council that needs. If you need to hear about it, I don't think you want it limited to 3 minutes anyways.
Yeah, the president should have unlimited time in that
Yeah, I
scenario.
mean, it's part of, I'm sorry, you're, but, yeah, the president is part of council and chair can give themselves more time.
If it's needed, it's needed. If it's not,
Well, I think a lot of, and I think what we learned last time is a lot of what was in the report, or some of it, and even tonight, I think some of it could have been an agenda item. They might fit under agenda items more.
My
report's
report was
more-
like 10 sentences.
Like the ongoing,
Yeah.
in the village hall and all that kind of stuff.
I think the report's completely appropriate for just quick information that doesn't really require, if anything, it's gonna make meetings longer if you make it an agenda item where everyone can talk on it. If it's something needing discussion, it'll be on there anyway, but if it's just quick findings and ongoings, I think that's fine.
Yeah, that's what this says.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's quick,
Okay.
keyword.
Um,
Like Matt said, time.
We got 15 minutes.
all right. Upon completion of the agenda,
So 4 is just the addition of the 3 minutes for the clerk and treasurer also? Is that-
yes.
Well, it's all highlighted. Is it all new, or is it, what is adjusted?
Agenda and materials distribution, I put no later than 6 o'clock on Thursday. I don't know how much control you have over that, but there've been occasions where
That
it's,
was gonna be my comment is. If we want to put a time on it, nothing wrong with the time, but if we're gonna put a time on it, then it's gonna have to be pickup. Because if the officer has to go do something, I'm not gonna have personnel in trouble per se, because they, do you know what I mean? It
Right, I
might take
do.
them, and you can't believe sometimes these calls, they gotta go to hospitals and far places, and it could be midnight by the time they get back. So if we want to set a time, then I would say pick up at dispatch at this, whatever that time is. And then you can come pick it up anytime you want, that time or later.
I totally agree that the officers may be busy. I don't think it's something we need to like clock them on, but if we had a goal.
As I say, they also can't be in 7 places at once to give everyone a 6 o'clock packet.
No, it's-
And what time is rotation, like shift change? They're coming in, they're getting ready about, so we're
So you want
literally.
it to be 7 or 8? 7 or 8? Shift change is not a good,
No, because they're coming in, they're,
I'm just telling you that the day shift ends at 6 o'clock afternoon, and then it's 6 o'clock. And then there's another change at 10 o'clock.
so I'd say 8.
Yeah.
That's the best you could do, unless you want it, because then it doesn't matter when shift is, and you can come pick them up at the dispatch window at 6 o'clock.
no, I think 8's fine. And again, it's not to hold their feet to the fire and time them, but it is so that it doesn't consistently show up at midnight, you know, if it doesn't have to. It kind of gives a guideline. So I'm fine with 8 if everybody else is. And again, I don't think anybody's timing it. It's just hopefully an encouragement.
And they have been pulling tickets, correct, each time they drop one off? So that we know that each person does get one and what time they are dropped off.
Wonderful. Good.
Can we add to that at front door? And but it has been left, and I didn't see it at a different door. I called and I was informed that it was, and that was before your time. It was left somewhere else.
I guess if we would like special delivery,
I mean.
let Cindy know,
front door
we
is
can
not
even put
too
it,
bad.
we can put it on the labels that we get, and we can make sure,
I mean, I just think if it's consistent, because, I'm sorry, I don't
Yeah.
always go to the side door next to the box that was sitting there, you know, it was tucked in there.
I
But I
think more
think-
so for the poor officers. I've had them look at me and go, I don't know which door to go to, because there's 3 of them. And I'm like, anyone you want, I'll find it.
but again, to the point of pick it up at dispatch.
Which I'm fine with, but if they're gonna be delivered, I'm not
Yeah,
gonna try to go
no,
get it
sure.
if it's already in the officer's car and track them down.
At least if 8 o'clock comes around and you don't see it, you know you either gotta go asking for it or go looking in the back
That's-
door or something.
That's what I do, go to all the different doors.
Okay.
All right, at the door, okay. And again, not 100%, it just gives them a goal, because
Yeah,
they've, you
yeah.
know. All right, under council packets, minutes of all village committees and boards, so that was more like tree board, ZBA, whoever, planning. Sometimes we get them, sometimes we don't, I don't know, sometimes they don't have
Sometimes they don't
meetings.
have them, right.
Pardon me?
Sometimes they don't have them.
Yeah.
If there's no ZBA, you're not going to see the same minutes that I would put in there the month before.
Right, but just added them so that it was clear. Under discussion and voting and all forms of communication, that came to me highlighted, so I thought maybe you did that, Megan.
Oh, that
But
must have
Green or
been,
the yellow?
The yellow came to me.
we did that update at a different time, so I just must have not unhighlighted it.
Oh, okay, all right, so that's all that
'Cause
is.
there was a discussion about website, social media,
Mm-hmm.
all communication.
Yep, okay. Meeting decorum guidelines, I do not know what that is. I wasn't given anything like that, and if we have something, I'd really like it.
This was language that was crafted and came up during past presidents' time. I couldn't tell you.
Is it a handout or something, or?
I don't know if we ever saw anything that related to that.
I think it would just go to, when you flip the next page, to conduct. I mean, I guess that's the best you could come up with.
So we can just take out
Realistically, it's
adhere to
funny,
rules?
I brought some old documents. These rules of procedure used to be 6 pages. We now have 12. I don't know that, why.
Okay, so we can eliminate meeting decorum guidelines and just adhere to the rules of order? Because meeting decorum guidelines isn't
Kind of
anything.
means the same thing, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, just take it out.
All right, take that out.
Yeah.
Conduct of discussion, time limits shall be adhered to for individual public comments in any business item. Oh, that didn't make sense to me. If the chair determines that time limits are necessary. We have a time limit already, don't we? For individual public.
Again, that wasn't, I didn't craft that, so. time
We have a
limits.
3-minute.
Yeah, that can be axed.
So it
No
should
need-
just,
No need to change the word chair, we're just taking it all out of there.
yeah, because we have the 3-minute time limit. so.
Yeah, but is that public comment? I mean, I know it's kind of referenced.
Yeah, if
If I
they're
could-
talking on a business item.
So-
For individual public comments on any business item.
If I could, because I've been going back through all the meetings so I could find all the ordinances, and the previous president allowed for public comment on everything, and I think that's what that is. And at the beginning of the meeting, they would state, yes, we're gonna open up to public comment on new business or that, so that's where that comes from. If you guys don't want public comment on business,
Well,
that's
I
on
don't
you.
know. I think this actually speaks to the council. So conduct of discussion. The members of the council wishing to speak shall first be recognized by the chair to speak, and each person who speaks shall address the chair. Other persons in attendance at the meeting shall not speak unless recognized by the chair. Prior to the discussion, call a motion. Once a motion is made and seconded, the council can discuss.
So this is
All-
following Robert's rules.
Yeah, all
very
members of the
directly,
public.
Where all our comments would go to the president. And
Oh, no, it does. It talks about all members of public requested to hold their public comment until that time. So if we're not even doing that, we should really take that whole couple sentences out.
Yeah.
Jamie, I mean, it wasn't just the last
Yes, sir.
president, it was basically historically always happened.
Oh, okay.
Previous-
I just saw it in a couple different meetings, that's why I was
Yeah.
talking to that.
So I'm missing
Historically,
something.
it was just, the audience could become part of the discussion on any agenda item.
Oh,
Okay.
just like people talking out loud and we're talking back to them, is that what
Yeah.
you're referring to? So there wasn't like
They
a,
were
oh, it's
asking-
new business, here's the next public comment opportunity, it's just,
No,
it's
it was
talking
just a
about the back and
discussion
forth.
back and forth, almost as, if- I won't
Yeah.
say as if they were part of the board, but in many cases, it kind of was, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I guess I wasn't clear. Yeah, they were talking from the gallery. It was a discussion.
And then
Yeah, a lot of
sometimes
times
it
they had a
goes
lot of
too long.
input to give to the board. I'm sorry.
And then it could go too long, so the chair needed to
Right.
limit it.
Right, so if we just
If we're not going to offer
stick
it,
to 3 minutes and,
7 minutes.
so just
we
leave it
leave
to
it
3
up to the
minutes.
individual president if
Yeah,
they want us to address them.
guys, we have 7 minutes. We can't even get through with our own comments, like,
Yeah.
we like talking to each other.
Well, we can always table this, the rest of this.
Well, we got 6 minutes.
we can do it.
So length of presentation, the only change there was if someone submits a written comment to be read out loud, that it should be limited to 3 minutes, just like if they were here
Yeah.
to give their presentation.
That seems
Where
fine.
before, there was no limit. So just to be fair and equitable.
Okay.
Special presentations made to the council for 10 minutes. Like, if it's something important, like our roads or whatever, but if we have, I can't say not important, but,
Audit.
you know, if we have
Yeah.
other groups that just want to come share kumbaya,
Well, and I think a lot of times what happens is the presentation itself isn't 10 minutes. It's we engage in a Q&A for 30 minutes with the presenter. It's not necessarily that the presentation is, sometimes it is long.
Sometimes
but-
it is.
But a lot of times it's just our discussion
Yeah.
during special presentation.
so they're allowed 10 minutes to talk or whatever, and then if we choose to ask questions or whatever, that can go beyond. But
What
we-
determines
they-
the special presentation? Who makes that clarification?
Something that needs to be on the agenda that needs time to be talked about, that's not really an agenda item, but we need to know about it, such as the SEMCOG planning grant. You all needed to be brought up to speed, but it's not an item for discussion.
Yeah.
And so item for discussion is for the board, they're not on it, presentation.
Yeah, so 10 minutes.
That's fine.
That should help a lot.
You're gonna make it.
Hmm?
You're gonna make it.
I'm getting these meetings down to 45 minutes, Matt.
All right.
And then the task force is established by resolution. Members of the committee must be residents of the village, recommended for appointment by the president, and confirmed by majority vote of the council. So it said resident of the village, and then it didn't make sense, but after it said residents of the village, it said by the will be appointed by the village president and must be residents. So I didn't understand the sentence.
You just reworded it more properly.
I think so. You tell me.
Yeah, it sounds much more logical that way,
Okay, that was it.
the way you did it.
I did want to add that the treasurer should come once in a while to give a report. I mean, that person handles a lot of money, and it would be nice to kind of see their face and say hello and ask questions, but I did not add that in, if anyone else wants to. If not, that was it.
Thank you, that was a lot of work.
Yeah, I mean, good job.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
No, wait, are we going to vote on this?
Yeah.
I thought we have a lot of redlining we
You're
kind
gonna
of.
make
And then we'll
changes
come
and we're
see a
gonna bring it
final.
back.
I think we need to see a final. We did a lot of work on that. We rewrote all the calling a meeting rules and.
Okay, so Jamie,
final
can you just
copy.
take this and eliminate the blue and the green?
I could. Does that go back to the original issue at all, or am I good to do that?
I'll get
Yes.
with you. I'll get with you, we'll adjourn.
Motion? Second? Sorry, Megan, that's your roll.
We have motion by Parker.
No.
Who was it
Motion
by?
Nolan, second.
Oh, motion by
Fowler.
Nolan, support by Fowler to adjourn the meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Boom.
9:57.
Really, we're